the hour, can get more into the weekend, I'm sure, during that bracket. We will have some big-time Padres talk coming up in the first 2 hours of the show. 12 o'clock Sports Fix Weekend in Review. We'll play Fast Money a little bit later on in the program today. Have Braden's football segment to overreact to the NFL weekend and everything else. That's how the show lines up between here and 2 o'clock. What stood out to you the most, Annie, from the weekend that was?
What stood out the most? I really liked
Way too
Saquon
open-ended.
Barkley's,
Sorry.
reverse jump over a tackle.
That was
I
good.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, I like that too.
A lot of little viral NFL things that happened, reporters in locker rooms. I mean, there was all that stuff. Oh, and Ha-Seong Kim, I think. That really didn't stand out to me. I expected that one. So Ha-Seong Kim entering free agency was kind of more expected than not. But yeah, I can't think of anything. Again, I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley, reverse jumping over a tackle.
That was pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty good. NFL yesterday was just all right. I watched our beloved Lions in the afternoon window for a goodly amount of time, playing in the pouring rain against Green Bay and taking care of business against Green Bay. And the Lions are starting to look like, maybe we actually did jump on a bandwagon, because they are looking like one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the National Football League.
They're a very good team. And yeah, what a team to pick, because they win every week. Amon-Ra St. Brown too. Did you see the headstand that he did?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love the picture they took of
starting
it
the
too.
headstand thing.
Holy
I'll see if
cow.
everyone does that now. So yeah, no, they're a good team, and they were doing well, and fun to watch them and kind of see all the reaction afterwards too.
That came from a kid at Incarnate Word.
Right. It's a thing. And now remember when the planks were a thing and everybody would plank everywhere?
Planking.
Yeah, now I wonder if the headstand is going to be a thing. Although he did it with he put his hands up. I can do a headstand with my hands on the ground. But he put his hands up by his legs and just bounced just on his head.
Balance on his helmet.
Yes, on his helmet. I was like, sir, no, we don't need to go to that point.
It's going to be a no from me on that.
I can't wait to see so many kids on Friday night in the playoff game get penalized for doing that
Yeah.
after a touchdown.
Or someone's going to hold their feet at the top so they can get their balance. And
Or just sprain their neck. Or,
that we don't want.
or sprain their wrist as
That
they
we do
fall
not
over,
want.
topple
None
over,
of
and
that.
fall over.
We'll have none of that.
You crazy kids with your headstands.
That's right.
Well, I will say one more thing about that before we dive into anything else, because we just happened to be there. That was the first game that I actually locked in this year on watching a Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady booth.
I haven't done that yet.
Lions,
listen to it the whole way through.
Lions Packers was a Brady game.
And how was that?
He's terrible.
Oh, really? I thought he was making strides.
He's not very good.
No?
He's one of the worst I've ever heard. He's so dull. He's so
Is it because
incredibly
he's
boring.
censored and he can't talk about certain
Probably.
things?
He doesn't have much of a personality, though.
There's just nothing there.
What about the insight? I feel like he should be able to give really good insight.
None.
He's not giving me anything. That I
Like
don't already
none.
know.
Well, that was a great run by the running back, or hey, it's 3rd down. They can try and throw a pass here and then go for the run on 4th down. When the guy was incomplete 6 times, hey, why don't you hand it off? Okay, big time insight there. And you know what the takeaway news story is that there was a big penalty in the 3rd quarter when Branch, the defensive back for the Lions, there was a leaping play in the sideline. He was coming in support and wound up lowering his helmet and in the estimation of the NFL, spearing the Packers receiver. And New York checked the penalty and from afar kicked him out of the game. So they had a review.
Okay.
They had a penalty review.
Yeah.
And it was reviewed up to, whatever, a red card, a flagrant 2, whatever it is, the NFL equivalent that he got kicked out. And Tom Brady said, well, I don't know that was, I don't know that I would have made that call. He said the most milquetoast, well, I don't know. And then afterwards was oop, he could be fined because he criticized the referee.
That's where it just gets ridiculous.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, you got to make a choice here, Tommy.
Yeah.
Or I guess you don't, but man, that just looks bad on Fox.
Can't have your cake and eat it too, my guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even criticize the umpires. You can't or the umpires, the officials. You can't criticize. Yeah.
Well, the main guys called it
yes.
umpires.
Yeah,
so
that is true.
That's fine.
Oh, and the hilarious thing is, during the breaks, Fox is airing a commercial that is all about pumping up Tom Brady with past versions of himself, like a Michigan Brady and a Patriots Brady and a Buccaneers Brady, all talking in his ear going, they don't think you can do it. They don't think you're good enough. Blah, blah, blah.
They made that way before he got approved to be the Raiders guy.
They played it during the World Series a lot on Fox.
It was
super hyped.
I'm watching that, and then they come back to him, and I mean, hey, he smiled well in the stand-up. I will give him that credit. He beamed for the stand-up and beamed as he looked at Kevin Burkhardt, but honestly, it was not good. And listen, he's a first-year broadcaster, whatever. They're paying him $35 million a year.
Was Tony Romo good his first year? See,
yes.
Tony Romo grew on me, so I like Tony Romo.
Tony was great.
Then he got kind of not so good after that, which
Tony
was weird.
got great. Tony was great early because he still knew everybody in the league.
Right.
And they'd tell him things.
Yeah.
And then once all those guys started leaving, he didn't put in the same work, and then he didn't know as much. And he's just like, oh.
No, he was a revelation his first year.
Yeah,
He was
I liked
calling
Tony.
plays before they happened. He was looking at it going, oh, the tight end is going to do this, and then he would do that.
And he has personality.
He does.
I don't know, Jim.
Yeah.
So great.
He would just talk. He would talk about all that random stuff. But for Tom Brady, yeah, man. I mean, he just knows too much football. Like, you'd think that, like, even if his personality wasn't shining through, just his football knowledge would be insightful enough to kind of keep you drawn in on the game and, like, what could happen. But then you also don't know what he's not allowed to say because of all the Raiders ownership stuff. So then that kind of censors him. So then it's just a boring. I guess it's just boring.
It's just
It
boring.
was so dull. I was bored
That's
out of my
unfortunate.
mind.
The best color analysts have a personality. Even if you have football knowledge, the ones
Yeah.
that don't survive, like Drew Brees he's got great football knowledge. He was so boring on air. I mean, it's like you could never use him for big games. He doesn't have big games. And like people like Chris Collinsworth. Chris Collinsworth tells me absolutely nothing every week. He doesn't know anything aside from receivers running routes. I mean, his knowledge of the trenches is so off. He just doesn't know. He's a receiver. But he's entertaining. You act like he's like you could pretend like he's your uncle at Thanksgiving and stuff like that. People love Chris Collinsworth. But his football insight is just like subpar. Mike Mayock was probably one of the most insightful analysts that has ever been on television, but he's boring. So people don't like Mike Mayock, even though he's way more informative than others. You have to be entertaining to do that job, probably more so than just being knowledgeable about football.
Yeah, he actually has kind of a weak voice, too, which is a weird thing to say. But
it
doesn't cut like it was.
Right.
I'm kind of like, who's that talking? Oh. But anyways, I didn't mean to start things on a critical note. I just don't think we'll ever get back to this at any point as the show goes forward because we got so much other stuff to talk about.
Well, and then, of course, Matthew Stafford's wife has to
Yeah.
insert herself back in the news.
She did?
What'd she do?
What did she do this
She
time?
was jealous. She's jealous of Taylor and Kelsey's
who cares?
relationship last year, and it bothered her. It bothered her all the attention that they were getting. And I'm like, if I was Matthew Stafford, though, I'd be like, we gotta stop.
We've won a
we
Super
can't say all this
Bowl. We
stuff.
make tons of money. Who cares?
Let's not say we're upset about that intention.
So wait, Matthew Stafford's
I
wife
think she has a podcast or something.
thinks her podcast is as popular as Taylor Swift?
She got tired of the attention on Taylor and Travis Kelce last year. And she felt like there wasn't enough attention on all the good things her husband was doing.
Got it.
Which is funny because Matt Stafford is never in the media, and it looks like he never wants to be the
Like
focal
he
point of
hates
anything.
talking, right?
Yeah, and it's like, come on, man.
Well, the two of them are on a couch in a Trust and Will ad. I mean, they've got that going for them. That
popular.
popped up on my TV a couple
haven't seen
times
that.
this weekend. Yeah. The
tell
two
me.
of them talking
Okay.
about estate planning.
Wow.
It's super, super exciting.
So one does
Yeah.
that, and the other one is a pop star.
With
Yeah.
billions and billions and billions of people that are into them. And yeah, so
It was
a little taste.
weird. The NFL gives us a little something over the weekend.
A little bit of something along the way. There were some great plays along the way. I'm trying to remember any of the other games. We'll get into the overreactions at 1 o'clock. Minnesota's good. Shockingly, Indianapolis turning to Joe Flacco didn't turn out to be the magic solution just because he happened to be good for like 6 weeks last year in Cleveland. Shockingly, that didn't didn't exactly spin forward, but I did watch a little bit of the Sunday night game, just kind of reveling in. I mean, this half-strength Minnesota team playing with Sam Darnold can make the playoffs easily. They won't win the NFC, but they'll make the playoffs easily. They've had a lot of kind of bumbling teams in their way. Indianapolis is a bumbler. They bumble. They bumble about.
But there was a lot of MLB news, too, that came down the pipeline, starting from the time we got off the air on Friday.
Indeed. And we'll get into all of it as we continue forward here on Annie and Elsten. In fact, in our next segment, let's get into where this touches the Padres directly. Ha-Seong Kim, to the surprise of literally nobody, chooses to opt out. Didn't get to the point where the Padres could say yes or no. He said, sorry, did you say you needed to give me $2 million and then I get to become a free agent? Cool, let's do that. I'll take the $2 million. Thank you. Now I'm a free agent. So Ha-Seong Kim probably gone. Is there any shot at a 1-year pillow deal? Would it make sense? Would it even make sense for the Padres to go forward? We'll talk about that and some of the other decisions. It was a decision weekend for a lot of players. Some really big decisions that were made in Big League Baseball. Let's get to it after this quick timeout. We're underway. Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 10:18 on the Fan. Annie and Elsten rolling through our first hour of the week. We're here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. till 2 p.m., bracketed by Ben and Woods in front of us and Gwen and Chris still to come. They'll work their way toward Monday Night Football a little bit later this evening. We talked some football in our first segment. Now let's turn our attention to our favorite sport on the show, the grand old game. Annie's going to have a busy first segment of the 12 o'clock Sports Fix today because but we talked about it when we set the schedule on Friday. All of the opt-in, opt-out decisions for contracts had to be made by today. Yeah. So all of those decisions have been made around the league, including here in San Diego, where Wandy Peralta accepted a raise for a bad season as part of that reverse risk contract that he signed last winter. And Ha-Seong Kim declined his end of an $8 million mutual option, accepting instead a $2 million mandatory buyout, which allows him now in, 4 hours, because it's 2 o'clock that it starts, to be officially a free agent. Ha-Seong Kim is on the market now.
I think they have until 2 p.m. our time, right, to opt in or out or be told or whatever. But, I'm not unexpected for either move. Wandy Peralta did not have a stellar year. Hopefully because, relievers can be streaky. Maybe this is a case where he can improve his numbers going forward, and it turns into a better deal for the team and a better deal for his play on the field than it looked like at this point, right, coming off of last year. And Ha-Seong Kim, you figure, that's why he signed Scott Boras. And there's probably going to be a team out there that's going to give him a multi-year deal. For the Padres, it just doesn't make sense, honestly. Leonidas DeVries, they're probably looking at him for 2026. Ha-Seong Kim probably won't be healthy to start the season in 2025. So could he come back maybe on a one-year deal? Maybe. It's not impossible. It's not impossible for the Padres to sign Ha-Seong Kim to a multi-year deal. They could sign him to a 10-year deal if they want to still. But it seems unlikely, at least in my opinion.
So start with the place we always have to start for the Padres, their debts and obligations. The team is locked in for 10 years at third base, for 9 years somewhere in the middle infield with Xander Bogaerts. They're locked in for 6 more years of Jake Cronenworth, and, of course, another 11 years of Fernando Tatis Jr. They're locked in all over the place. You'd love to see Jackson Merrill someday put into that locked-in category. If you lock in Ha-Seong Kim to a long-term deal, now you're making certain other decisions, right? It means that Xander Bogaerts now must play second base. It means that Jake Cronenworth has to play first base, or else he has to surrender his starting position and be a utility player. It means, therefore, you can't go sign a first baseman. What does it mean if you want to keep Luis Arraez? Now it means Luis Arraez is your DH, which means you can't sign a DH, which means you can't add any power to the team. And all of that would be for what? For Ha-Seong Kim. I'm looking at it from the Padres' perspective now. All of this, for what? You give Ha-Seong Kim a 1-year deal to rehab his shoulder, to rehab his stat line. You don't get a full season. I'm here to tell you right now, he will not accept a $6 million contract to come to the San Diego Padres, because someone else will offer him 6 years and say the first year is, we know you're just getting better. We'll see you in May. We'll see you in June, whenever it is. He'll have a suitor on. So if the Padres wanted to come to you love us, we love you, your shoulder's hurt, come back 1 year, pillow contract. I mean, that contract has to be minimum $12 million, probably.
Yeah, they would have both opted in if that was the case. They both would have said, okay, we'll figure out a way to make it work. Ha-Seong Kim maybe says, look, I want to stay here. I don't think my shoulder's in the right place to test free agency. And, I want to test free agency next year. Let's figure out what we can do. And then the Padres would have to agree to that too. But I just don't think that that's what either side is really looking for right now. I mean, for the Padres, they've got their eye. They've got to bridge this until Leonidas DeVries, unless something goes wrong, right? Or unless something goes wrong for Ha-Seong Kim. Maybe he goes out there, maybe he tests free agency, and the market just is not receptive. It's completely cold. Still, the Padres would have to bring him on for at least what he was making last year, or I guess you could play some leverage games with that if you wanted to, because he's the one who elected free agency. And then you would have to allow him to rehab, and whoever's playing shortstop would have to move then probably by midseason. And here we go. So it just seems like it could. I mean, like I said, it's not impossible if the market doesn't prove to be anything good or open to Ha-Seong Kim. Maybe it could be something that could work out for the Padres. They could sign him to a less money deal. But I don't think that Ha-Seong Kim, I feel like a team's going to give him at least a multi-year contract. There's going to be at least one or two teams that will take that risk.
Yeah. Here's why, in my opinion, Ha-Seong Kim not only is gone, but has been gone for a while. It's part of the same thing that leads to a tiny bit of disconnect between Padre fandom and the performance of Ha-Seong Kim. I think there's a lot of people who loved seeing the player on the field, but I think we've also seen, especially, and he just had his worst year pretty much last year, see a lot of people who felt that Ha-Seong Kim was from somewhat to extremely overrated at his position. And yet, okay, Ha-Seong Kim is the kind of player that modern baseball analytics just loves. He plays great defense at the most important position. So already he gets a weight on his side of the scale that other people don't get, right? That's already adding heft to what he does. Then amongst the things he does do as a player, he draws walks, has a good eye, doesn't chase, he's fast, he adds value on the base paths. Maybe not running it outs at third base or home, but in terms of stolen bases, historically, he's added value on the base paths. And he has power, some power, which is important at a premium position. And hitting 15 homers or 10 or 17 homers as a shortstop is important compared to hitting 10 or 17 homers as a second baseman or as a utility player. So all of that adds up to say that Annie, in 24 front offices, their computer spits out a list of top value, and Kim's name is right there, not at the top of the list, but he's there in that first grouping of players this offseason. So while here in San Diego, you've seen all of Kim's outs. You've seen all the times a fastball beat him at the top of the zone. You've seen all the times that he ran into an out on the base pass or that he didn't make the play at shortstop. That's being too close to the situation analytically. It's seeing all the warts without backing up to see the full picture. You look at the full picture, and I'm telling you, other front offices are going to see this guy and say, this is a player we can install in the middle of our infield for the next 4 years and get incredibly reliable defensive production with a chance for offensive upside. So Kim is gone.
Yeah. If you're in another team, too, you're looking at, is 2023 his best? Is that his ceiling? Can he get better than that? Can he return to that? He put on weight again this past offseason to try to get more power. He wanted to break double digits in home runs. And I don't know if that messed him up, or perhaps that mentality maybe messed him up a little bit, which we see all the time happen with players. So he's got to kind of get back in the lab, kind of figure out how to get himself right again. Obviously, he can't do that this off season because he's got the shoulder surgery. But if you're another team and you're in need of a shortstop or a second baseman, you're looking at him for sure. And you're looking to see if he could be a fit or someone that you could even, play a little deeper, a little more toward the mid to the bottom of the lineup, and also try to get the most out of hitting wise. Maybe you see something that you feel like you can unlock as well. I think Ha-Seong Kim, for the Padres, he was, an excellent addition. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like, the clubhouse loved him. He got better as the years went on. Not this last year. Obviously had the injury too, but he showed improvement from year to year. He is a player that will work hard and will take a lot of constructive criticism to make himself better. Coaches love him. Managers love him. So I think in that respect, like, you're going to be able to find someone that's going to be able to work with him and going to want to add him to their club. Whether it's the Giants, whether it's another team in the division, or it's another team just around baseball. I think that you're going to have some eyes on him. And the other thing is, there's not really that big of a class. Like, you'd have to accept the fact that he won't be your shortstop this season, like the way that he would hopefully for future years. But if you can get past that and you can afford to do that, then you can picture him to be part of your team for years to come.
Wrapping up the Padres side of this, we talked at the end of last week about the exclusive negotiating window, whereby teams can talk to their outgoing free agents only. That window ends at 2:00. So we haven't heard any deals for Kyle Higashioka or Jurickson Profar or David Peralta, for that matter, Tanner Scott, etc. So because we haven't heard anything now, I mean, I guess theoretically they could have something that's grinding its way through MLB right now to be announced before 2. But in all likelihood, these players are going to free agency. They're going to accept other calls starting at 2:01 this afternoon. The reason I feel confident in saying that is we saw over the weekend literally one example in baseball of a player taking advantage of his exclusive window, and that was Michael Wacha. Wacha signed a deal with an opt-in. He opted out and became a free agent, but then in the window, he and the Royals agreed on a new contract, which gave him a slight raise. He's going to make 3 years, $17 million a year. He had made $16 million with both the Padres and with the Royals the last 2 years, so he'll go up to 17. He might have made less with the Padres. I think he made less with the Padres, and then he had an option for 16. Never mind. Point being, he definitely made $16 million last year, and he'll make 17 this year. But he signed a 3-year deal with a club option for 2028, and that's what happens when a player and a team actually have that simpatico. They come up with that deal over the weekend.
You don't see very many of them, but when you see them, right, like it makes sense for Michael Wacha, and I think his family really likes being there. They had a good thing going with the Royals this last year, so you could see kind of where you could build a future there and closer to his home and whatnot. So, that works out, and good for Michael Wacha to parlay what was, for him, kind of an injury every year with that arm and be able to continue to sign these kinds of contracts.
Next hour, we'll continue the baseball talk and talk about some of the big opt-in, opt-out decisions elsewhere, including Gerrit Cole playing one of the biggest games of high-stake poker that I've seen in baseball in a while. We'll get into that and what they have put the question to in terms of Brian Cashman and the Yankees, and another great example of the Milwaukee Brewers being a cheap organization that hates their players, and why nobody ever wants to stay in Milwaukee. We will give you those stories in 11 a.m. when we get into some heavy baseball once again, as we usually do. But after this quick timeout on Annie and Elsten, something bad and then what's good. That's what's coming up. It was a dark day, even though the sun was shining in San Diego for the soccer community yesterday. However, we've also got what's good from the weekend that was. So we'll give you a little bit of balance in your palate in the next segment. Stay right here. It's Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. No, it's just starting. Segment's just starting.
The hour's almost over.
It's true. Not really sorry. Happy to conclude the hour. I mean,
The 5 days of not contacting free agents is almost over.
So sorry.
Yeah.
Ha-Seong Kim is gone.
That's true.
Is that the lyric?
Yeah.
I was
sorry
gonna-
it's over, Padres fans.
So sorry
Ha-Seong
it's
Kim
over.
is gone.
Ha-Seong Kim is gone. All right, we're going to wrap up this segment with good things from the weekend that was. And I'm sure all of us have some great stuff and some positivity to send forward. In a weird way, I want to twist this to be kind of positive as well. Because I want to see Annie and Braden, I want to see Snapdragon Stadium be a hub, a mecca for international events, for soccer, for football, for concerts, for everything else, rugby, everything that they can put into Snapdragon Stadium. It's in the perfect place in San Diego, the confluence of the freeways, Mission Valley. We always knew that's where a stadium should be. And it's there. And I want to see it. I want to see it work out. San Diego FC is coming. Major League Soccer is coming. I watched some of the playoff soccer yesterday. Yesterday evening, I was watching some of that. Watched LAFC a little bit. Watched some of another match as well. We're going to be theoretically a part of all that next year. Not theoretically. MLS is coming. National Women's Soccer League is here. San Diego Legion is here. Major League Rugby is here. And, of course, San Diego State Football is here. But what's not here is a usable playing field. And I'm actually a little bit concerned for the Aztecs football team this weekend when they play at home because the Aztecs attitude is like, nah, it's cool. It's cool. We'll play. But literally someone from FIFA was flown into San Diego last week to inspect the pitch at Snapdragon Stadium and declared it unhealthy, declared it unfit for play, dangerous, that allowing play on that pitch would be tantamount to risking the health of the highly paid professional athletes that are contracted to be there. And so as a result, the National Women's Soccer League, and they announced this like a half hour after our show ended on Friday, which in a way I was mad because all this dropped. And then I'm like, really? You had to do it right after the show? Nice, good, Friday bad news dump as usual. But they moved the game to Louisville. They moved the game to the opponent's home field, which is funny and ironic in and of itself because the one other time that the Wave played at Louisville earlier this year, their then head coach, Casey Stoney, had a post-match tirade about the terrible playing condition of the field in Louisville. However, it was better than what San Diego had to offer. A real black stain, Annie, on what was already such a tough season for the Wave. But for their fans, and they had over 20,000 fans set to come for Fan Appreciation Day. They were going to honor Alex Morgan at the match, in the year of her retirement, kind of put a capstone on that. And all of that just relocated to Kentucky because the field is unplayable and unhealthy.
Yeah, was disappointing news to hear on Friday, and it's never why you want to be in the news. I mean, this made national attention. You don't want your stadium to be in the news, and the dynamics of having to move it, right? It's not just, we got to move this match. It's no big deal. It's all the fans that get impacted because of it. It's the money that isn't made because of it. The ticket prices or the ticket costs that then go over to Louisville. So there's a lot of implications to this. But yeah, flew in the FIFA official. The FIFA official said not going to work. They moved the match. A lot had to go into just the dynamics of that to happen. I hope, the more I've read about this, the more it's because I understand the question, who do you blame? This field is overseen by a third-party group.
Yes.
But the same way that any employee, where does the buck stop? The San Diego State has to figure out what to do with this problem because if it's a case of they just kind of put in the wrong grass, which sometimes can happen, and I think when especially a new field is happening, they haven't quite figured it out yet, then okay, maybe you got to look at that and say maybe that wasn't the right type of grass, maybe that wasn't the right type of climate to grow it in or whatever, and figure that out. But you got to figure it out quickly because those events aren't going to stop coming. Those matches aren't going to stop coming, especially with SDFC coming next year. There's got to be some kind of, and I'm sure there is, work going on behind the scenes right now to figure out how do we fix this.
Yeah. Braden, is there a bowl game at Snapdragon this year?
The Holiday Bowl's there.
The Holiday Bowl is there, right? So they've got to keep this field
And
through
then they got the Monster Jam. They've got
Here-
they'll tear it up for that.
Here's
but
what we're not talking about. Here's my question. How many stadiums in the United States have football, MLS, future MLS, and soccer all in the same building on natural grass?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'm looking it up right now. I can't find any. Like the link, you would think, but the MLS team in Philadelphia, if they even have one anymore,
They do. They play in their own. They have
but
their
they
own
play in
stadium.
their own stadium now, right?
their
So
own
like
stadium.
with the rules of trying to play on grass and the ones that do share stadiums with football teams play on turf. This is a very unique environment. Before I start, because it's easy to just say like they're screwing this up, or the grounds crew's not doing their job, or it's the grass. They have way too many events for a natural grass stadium. And I'm talking events of high volume field use. Like you can have a bunch of events at Petco Park because baseball does not tear up grass like football and soccer do.
Right.
And you have the two sport and rugby. They have rugby there too.
Yeah,
that hasn't even
Legion.
started yet, right? And if you're San Diego State, you have to have as many things in there as possible. And it's natural grass because nobody likes playing on turf. And I know there's rules about soccer teams playing on turf.
Yeah.
And I don't like playing on turf either. So if you can have natural grass, great. But if you look at all of the facilities in the United States, Snapdragon Stadium is the only one that has this many events that plays on natural grass. Maybe it's not suitable to have the stadium have this many events with natural grass. I mean, maybe this problem can never be fixed if you have natural grass.
That's the whole thing. I mean, this is the open question, Annie and Braden, that is going to be confronted here in San Diego in 2025.
MLS, is there a rule against MLS playing on?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so MLS,
And NWSL, they don't want to be on turf.
They won't
They
go
don't
on
want to be on turf
They
at
won't
all.
go on synthetic field, right?
Yeah.
So, which I understand because of injuries and everything like that. But like I see, I can understand. Well, they're not going to stand for this. Well, then, but they didn't build their own stadiums. MLS didn't, NWSL didn't, and yes, I understand they're contracted this and that, but there's, it can't just be like, well, I'm mad. There's got to be kind of from the part of SDSU, which is we need to make enough money, I guess, to do what we need to do here. It kind of puts you in a rough position.
It's not suitable. And the thing is like when they were at Torero Stadium, I was calling games for USD stuff. When the Wave were playing there and rugby was playing there and USD's football team was playing there, plus USD's soccer team, the field was just as bad. It was awful.
It was trash.
It was awful.
Yeah.
And it's not, and their field now is great. Why? Because they got football and men's and women's soccer. It's very It's not like an occurrence all the time. Their football team practices on the lower field. They can pull it off now. They have so many events. I think it's the fact that you have all these events going on that tear up turf on a natural grass playing surface when there's only about 15 stadiums that still have 13 stadiums that still have natural grass, and most of those are football only with the exception of when they have a couple of international friendlies, but not the main site for a NWSL or MLS team.
Yeah, now I want to just throw a couple of facts in because we're talking about it. There are 6 MLS facilities that currently use artificial turf because that was banging in my head because I knew
Yeah.
that was
Yeah, 'cause the
Seattle.
Sounders use it.
Yeah,
Right.
Lumen Field,
That
which is the
changes
same
things a
field.
little,
So
right?
there are 6. They
just
are
prefer it
all
not to.
There's only one soccer stadium that has artificial turf, and that is Providence Park in Portland, and I think that's because of the rain.
And that's designed for. That's one of the ones that is designed for soccer.
For soccer
all the other
only.
ones are playing in football.
100%.
Stadiums, right?
All the others
Like
are playing in
Atlanta.
football stadium. Atlanta, New England Revolution play at
Right.
Gillette Stadium. Charlotte FC plays in the same place as the Panthers. BC Place hosts Vancouver's Canadian football team as well as the Whitecaps. So,
I would imagine the rules probably. If you're going to build your own stadium, we prefer you use natural grass.
right. And you cannot have artificial surface for a FIFA event. So, for
So it
example,
rules out the ability, the opportunity to have those.
correct. And so,
Yeah.
for example, Lumen Field in Seattle will be a World Cup host site. They are going to install grass.
I think
Wow.
For the
Jerry's
World
World
Cup.
Jerry's
Okay.
World has done that in the past when they host FIFA events.
That is correct. They have
Okay.
had a grass field there for an international soccer match
So you
before
take
as
out
well.
the turf, put in the grass. There's probably a cost, obviously, associated to
cost.
that, and then you put
Gigantic
it back
cost.
in the turf. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Think about how
Okay.
think
Well-
about how bad
Well,
some
now
of
we
these
know it's
stadiums
not
have
impossible,
been
I guess.
in the past, right? Like Arizona has rolled the turf in and out, and they've had bad playing surfaces
Yeah.
for the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
We've talked about San Francisco, and they've had a lot of events. They've had bad grass where guys are getting hurt up at Levi Stadium, and some of those facilities have fixed their problems, but that's not part of the thing. That's not part of the equation. Is they don't have MLS teams and multiple teams going on at once. It's just the Niners right now in San Francisco. Like in Arizona, it's just the Cardinals until they get to bowl play. And even then, it's still just the Cardinals. There's nobody else playing there.
Right. So just a couple of things. As Annie mentioned, Oak View Group is the name of the third party that is in charge of the pitch. So San Diego State contracts Oak View Group, so you can look at SDSU from afar and be like, hey, guys,
That's where the buck stops.
right. Hey, guys, what are you going to do going forward? But it's not like San Diego State has Snapdragon Stadium's guys doing this and it's the stadium's fault. The stadium
Correct.
operators are great people doing a great job.
Yeah.
This is a third party in charge of specifically the playing surface, and the playing surface is not good enough.
And what kind of contract is that? Can you get out of that contract? Is that a 10-year contract you could only get out of with severe penalties or fines? Like, it isn't as easy as sometimes, like, I make it sound sitting right here. Like
Right.
there's all kinds of nuances that we don't know about.
It might be an impossible task.
Right. It might be
Based on the
you've got to
events,
try it again next year.
It might be impossible.
It could be. And here's the thing. Next year, we're going to find it out, because I'm really kind of, in a way, proud of the Wave for standing up for this moment. One thing that they revealed via a leak, via the reporting of this story, is that they have had to pay what they described as 5-figure fines, so over $10,000 fines, to both the NWSL and the CONCACAF for the bad state of the pitch multiple times this year. So they've been laying out fines.
And that's coming from NWSL, not from Snapdragon.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's NWSL saying, hey, this pitch is not good enough. And then being like, we got to play on it. Okay, here's a fine. That wasn't up to our standards.
Also, can I just say too, you pay a lot to sign these players. Like, you want to protect your investment. I mean, no one wants it. You don't want to risk injuries on fields, because that's money that's sitting on the bench that could
Right.
be playing.
Right.
So it's
Major injuries have happened here,
like that's
you
also
know?
where probably NWSL is kind of coming from too, of like, we don't want these players to get hurt and then they just sit there while we could use them on the field.
Right.
Maybe
Which is any team.
Maybe the only capacity at Snapdragon Stadium is for MLS and the football team, and that's it. Right? Like, maybe you can't have all these teams play there because of the grass, unless you bring in turf, which nobody wants.
This is so
How long's the
far. What
MLS
does Front
season
Wave
go,
Arena,
Craig?
Like, is that
The MLS season goes from late February till the end of October.
To the end of October. So for like
Yeah,
a month, the turf's going to get tore up again anyway.
Yeah,
well,
'cause
and next
these
year there'll be
playoffs-
two teams playing at the same time.
Now you're going to have three
Yeah.
teams, right? Because
Yeah.
the Wave were still playing
Right.
up until
Yeah.
like 2 weeks ago.
Correct.
Or like Sunday, right? Because they had to
Yeah.
move the game.
Right.
So you're going to have three teams on there, plus all the concerts they have to fill. I don't think there's any grass in the world or groundskeeper in the world that's going to make that turf good, because I said it before, I'll say it again. Qualcomm's turf was not good either when they had multiple things going on at once.
Right. And
It was destroyed.
the bottom line is going to come when MLS comes, because, and that's why I say I'm proud of NWSL and of the Wave, because they've been over here screaming bloody murder for a while and nothing's been happening. And even after the move, the Oakview Group put out a really ridiculous statement saying something about, well, the aesthetics of the field. And it's not the aesthetics. It's actual player safety. It's real.
Yeah. They contradicted themselves in that statement. They're
They
like,
did.
the aesthetics, and then they're like, but we will be looking at what we could do to make it better. Like, there's clearly a problem.
There's obviously a problem. But the difference between NWSL and MLS is that Mohamed Mansour paid $500 million for the name. San Diego FC, just for the right for the team to exist. Never mind the facilities that they're building at Singing Hills. Never mind the team that they're building. We had Mikey Varas on our last show. Tyler Heaps, their GM. Like, they are installing tens of hundreds of millions of dollars into a brand new product. And if they run out there on a sandy field and Chucky Lozano tears his ACL, Mohamed Mansour ain't gonna stand for it.
But what can he do? I mean,
build a stadium.
Yeah, he'd have to
gonna
like
have
you
to
have to
threaten to
build your
move.
own stadium. Like
He's gonna have to build
you'd
his
have to
own.
put more money into Snapdragon to allow them to have less events, I guess, or something.
I mean, threaten to move.
I guess,
You know, like
yeah.
pull stake and get the heck out if you had to. And none of us want to see that happen. So Braden raises a very valid point. We don't know if it's even feasible. But I'll tell you one thing for sure we've learned, Kentucky Bluegrass ain't it. That ain't it.
Most of these facilities have Bermuda. I've looked at.
Time to go ahead and get back in that Bermuda Triangle there. Like, come on back, because we need a real pitch that's going to stand up. And, listen, you can have a pitch that handles heavy work. Go look at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles that has LAFC and has Angel City. They don't have a bad field. They have a beautiful field.
They don't have a football team playing.
They don't have a football team playing on it. That's right. Those are like 8 games a year. If that, right? 6.
I mean, football and Legion, those are big guys. Those are
They are.
heavy
That is
impact,
high. That is
They tear
high,
stuff
high
up.
intensity. Yeah.
high violence on
Right,
grass.
right.
They tear stuff up. But it's got to get figured out, and it's got to get fixed. It's something's got to happen. And by the way, the Wave went to Louisville and they won the dang match.
It's great.
They won it 3-1. Now, Louisville found out the night before that they were eliminated. So I think they came in playing not exactly their most inspired match of the year. But nonetheless, the Wave go ahead and gut out a game.
I mean, for a season that did not go the way that they would have hoped, that had a lot of ups and downs and managing and coaching changes and Olympics and players and Alex Morgan retiring. I mean, lawsuits. There's a lot that happened this season. I think they're ready to and start again.
Turn the page. Turn the page. Resod the field.
Yes.
And turn the page.
A fresh start for all. But that's a question going to be for them in the offseason too, right? Like, is Landon Donovan coming back? Is he going to continue to be
question,
there?
Yeah.
Their head
No, they
coach?
got plenty of things they got to figure out. I mean, they need a new big-time striker, too.
Yeah.
Alex Morgan retired. There's not another Morgan just waiting. So they got to find
She
somebody
might be
for
waiting
that.
to find out what grass is coming in.
That's
all
a
right?
great. Hey, listen, someone said it in the chat. Like, there's these Kevin De Bruyne signing rumors for San Diego FC. If he took one look at that field, he'd be like, "Sorry, I can play on 50,000 better fields in Europe than come over here and wreck my knee." So they got to get it solved. All right. Well, it wound up taking up the whole segment. That means we'll push what's good into the second hour of the show, but we do want to get into all the good things from the weekend that was as well. When we come back, what the heck? 4 years younger? Padres Dominican shenanigans exposed over the weekend. What is going on down there? We're going to get into it when we come back with hour number 2. Welcome back, everybody. Hour number 2 of the program. It's Annie and Elsten here with you. Your midday hang on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie Heilbrunn is here. I'm Craig Elsten. Braden Suprenant as well. We're all together rolling till 2 o'clock, coming your way on 97.3 FM radio. Also streaming worldwide on the Odyssey app. Free to download, free to use, AUDACY. And we are a YouTube show. We're a video show every time we're on the air. You can go see our smiling faces in studio. Go to the 97.3 The Fan page on YouTube. While you're there, bookmark it. And for everybody who is in our chat today, welcome. Welcome back in many cases. Don't forget to hit that like button. Give us the little thumbs up right there. It never hurts. It always helps. Well, we got into the stadium issues from the weekend that was last segment. Talked baseball before that, and we're going to talk some baseball now here in the second hour of the program as we turn to the other big Padres story from the weekend. The first one was Ha-Seong Kim opting out of his deal. Not entirely unexpected. This was entirely unexpected. Did not know the name Cesar Altagracia before this weekend. And there's a good reason why, Annie. Because Cesar Altagracia is dead. Cesar Altagracia was a teenager, a young man who died far, far too young in the Dominican Republic.
It's very sad.
Very sad. Don't know him. Shout out to his family, as Ben and Woods would say. However, whoever this guy is, this guy over here, there was another young man in the Dominican who literally took the records of a dead man, a young dead man, used them for himself to portray himself as being 5 years younger than he was in reality. So, imposter Cesar Altagracia found his way into some big-time teams for the Dominican Republic. Because not shocking, Annie, that someone that's old enough to drive, when you put them on an under-12 team, is going to perform remarkably well.
Yeah, I mean, this guy looked a lot bigger, a lot stronger, a lot more talented. He had 5 years more experience than what he was playing against within these teams.
Played at the under-15 Pan American Championships this summer for the Dominican. Whoopsie. Because he's actually somebody named something else that's 19 years old that was trying to game the system, trying to get by, trying to get over, trying to find wealth for his family in an impoverished country, a third world country. Well, they had found a sucker. Sucker's born every minute. In this case, the sucker was the San Diego Padres. The Padres fell for the false identity of imposter Cesar, were quite taken by the 19-year-old who they thought was 14, and they made a verbal agreement that come January 2027, this is how far they're working ahead, but you can't sign a player out of the Dominican or out of any of these Caribbean countries until they turn 16 years old. But that does not preclude you from inviting them to come play for free at your academy, live and stay there, build a life there, and come to an informal agreement that you will get paid when that January day rolls around. And Annie, that's what the Padres had done. They had allocated over $4 million to imposter Cesar in January of 2027.
It's interesting. I mean, the dynamics of how it works in the Dominican Republic are fascinating. And I wish I've never been. I would love to go down there and see the Padres complex down there, as well as understand more of the mechanics. But from talking to players, I mean, you know, this is a system that is not perfect at all, that tends to prey on families, like you just mentioned, who have severe economic hardship and have some talent in their family to find a better life as a athlete or as a baseball player. And then there are these agents who make their living also kind of, now some of them are, I'm sure, fine and more integrity filled, but there's a lot of agents down there too who are of less integrity who also kind of prey upon both sides of the equation. So there's a lot that goes on down there. It's been an ongoing thing for Major League Baseball to keep an eye on it and try to figure things out. I mean, there's players that I'm sure are playing in baseball now that are maybe not the age that that are thought to be or at least have in the past, but before this was kind of flagged. But it's definitely it's a hard system to kind of put your arms all the way around, because unless you're living in it and understand, I think, what's at stake here, you can understand sometimes how kind of some of the desperation comes into play.
Yes. And again, the Padres didn't do anything that violates any rules by coming to an informal agreement with this imposter who took a dead man's name to try and falsify his age. There are very few governors over what's happening in the Dominican Republic. And frankly, this is an area of strength for the San Diego Padres, right? Mm-hmm. And Ethan Salas, Leo DeVries, Morahone, these are examples of the Padres having success on the international market. Preller has deep roots down there. He's been knocking around those woods for a while down there, and he knows the right places to go. In the UT story written about this, they say, quote, "It is common practice among teams trying to identify top prospects to fit into annual international budgets to come to verbal deals. Some players agree to deals as young as 12 or 13 years old and continue to train under the team's unofficial supervision until their 16th birthday, although those agreements are not final till ink meets paper."
And this is where there's a comment in the chat that's like, whoa there, quote, prey on. Yes, this is where when there's kids as young as they are, and there's a lot of money at stake, and it's a competitive field, and there's a lot of wild, wild west happening down there in terms of how baseball is managed and how kids are kind of seen and whatnot. There's a lot that goes on that I think that they've been trying to get more regimented. Baseball has, but there's a lot at stake. You think of a family that has a chance to make money that they've never seen in their lives. There's a lot that happens. There's a lot of bad advice. There's a lot of people trying to make a payday. There's a lot of people trying to falsify things, whatever. There's teams that make promises that they can't keep to try to get a player to come over and stay under their kind of stewardship for a while and then don't ever end up signing them. Well, what happens to that kid?
Right.
That kid thinks that they've got a deal from the time they're 12 or 13, and then the team... there's nothing written. They don't have to sign them. It's a very gray area that happens a lot down in Dominican.
Sounds like college recruiting before you become a junior.
Pretty much.
It's basically the same thing.
Pretty much. So you know what all of this is to me, Annie? This is a great advertisement for why Major League Baseball needs an international draft. Because you could take all of this corruption, and in this case, this is a player side corruption.
Yeah, there's opportunity and there's corruption. They both go together.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And right now you have a somewhat no holds barred situation where there are advantages to be found down in the islands in the third world for teams who have facilities, for teams who make investments. And the Padres have made big investments in their Dominican facility. It's considered the jewel of the island in many eyes, what the Padres have invested in down there.
Yeah, and there's also, like, I've run into players in clubhouses who talk about where you're coming from, whether it's the Dominican or it's Venezuela, or like how there can be a lot of differences because the MLB, Major League Baseball, really taking a hold in the Dominican also changed the infrastructure of their education system, like in terms of, kids not necessarily going to school anymore. They just try to go the route of baseball, or they try to go the route where in other countries, school is still very much, no, you have to finish your schooling or you have to get to this point or whatever. Like, there's a lot of ripple effects of how this has all gone. And I agree. I think there could be probably, and I don't know all the intricacies of it, but there's probably a better way to do this. A draft probably seems like one where you would maybe continue to keep more of the I guess, normalcy of a kid. And I mean, a lot of these kids also are taken away from their families. Again, it's an opportunity, but it's also a weird system to go play at another complex when they're 12, 13, 14 years old or whatever, 16 years old or whatever that age is. And a lot of these decisions get made with the agent. And it's just a complex system that I am a little surprised. I guess what's the disadvantage to having a draft, right? They would fight back against the money.
Well, the international players do not like the draft because they want to be able to pick where they go.
Right.
And they want to be able to sign for the most money.
Go.
And they don't want to
And they could get more money, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they could do the stuff that this particular individual did. They're find ways to get more money than just being exactly. Instead of, because I know that all the top, I've seen this happen last negotiating the last bargaining agreement. The international leaders of the Players Association were like hard set on we can never have a draft. It's BS. We can never have it. They were super against it. And I think a lot of it is for the reasons of they don't get to pick where they go and they don't get to sign for all this money because, like, is Adrian Morejon getting $5 million out of Cuba in the draft as a 16-year-old? Also, the fact that he gets to get drafted at 16 where American players have to wait through high school, which is another major advantage for some international players.
And
so maybe they like that.
difference.
Maybe they like that advantage too. I mean, a draft seems simple, but I think it'd be hard pressed to get the international players and the Players Association to agree to it.
Yeah, and baseball in Dominican. I mean, that is the Dominican baseball is life there. So it's a big business.
And you know what? In the chat, Tony was just bringing something up that I had actually kind of forgotten about. We talked about it back over the summer, but the National Women's Soccer League did abolish their college draft. And the reason was to transfer power from teams to players so that players would have freedom to choose the team, and have the opportunity to have the market set the contract of their value. And certainly for the best players coming out of college, that's great news. It could obviously have a negative trickle-down effect to the people that are more of the bottom of the roster type players that are just trying to find their way in. So I do get that, the anti-competitive side of it. However, it's also a lot less corrupt if you have an international draft and you have set standards on
the difference between college football and the NFL. College football, you can sign wherever you want, right? And they have the deals, and players get to pick where they go, and they get to pick where they go all the time. And from a competitive standpoint, all the rich teams continue to get richer based on that model because there is no draft. You can't have it both ways. Like, there's not a world in which the players have all the say in the league and the league is super competitive. Like, you can't have both. If you want the players to have whatever they want, then you can't bitch in a small market that everything's scaled against you. It's not fair. But the same thing is like the NFL, everything's competitive, but the players, they don't get the best deal out of everything. So you have to pick and choose. Do you want to have players have control and they get all the money and the small markets get shafted? Or do you want a level playing field and the players are not making a bunch of money? That's basically where you're at in professional sports. That's the choice you have to make as a fan. And
the Padres, like you said, there's nothing that they did wrong in the sense of like they're going to be penalized here. They're actually more of the, I won't say the victim, but kind of like they're more on the side of like they thought this guy was younger than he actually was. There's no advantage to the Padres to giving a lot of money to a guy that's older than they thought they're signing him for because it's not really like going to work out for them in the long run necessarily to give that much money for a guy that's already kind of developed, and that doesn't really have any more necessarily ability to do that. He's going to be past his age. But for the Padres, they just don't, that was a handshake agreement. So they obviously just don't sign this guy. They have already, like you said, the UT's already said that this relationship is dissolved. The agreement is dissolved.
Yeah. And although, the funny thing is it's a 1-year suspension. For the kid gets to come back and try again. He's just going to come back as a 20-year-old or whatever he is. Yeah, he'll come back as a 20-year-old with a different name.
But it does have an effect on the Padres. Like, look, you spend a lot of resources and money scouting these players, and you put a lot of effort. Think of the effort that goes into these top players trying to get them to come to your team or decide to be with the Padres. We see it in stateside. Just the story about Jackson Merrill, what their scouts did and what A.J. Preller did just to make sure that they were always boots on the ground to try to get Jackson Merrill to think about the Padres. It's the same sort of thing there. There's a whole resource and money allotment that goes into scouts from the Padres and A.J. Preller and his front office trying to win over Dominican players or international players to come to the Padres. So in that sense, you lose that time invested and those resources invested for that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, an international draft would make things harder for AJ Preller. He'd be great at drafting, but he'd lose the edge he has over the 24 teams that aren't putting in the work.
You probably don't have Salas and DeVries. You probably have one if you got lucky to get a good draft spot. Or you have zero, and they're getting wasted in Pittsburgh right now.
Right.
Right. That's I think where the international players are like, this is BS. I don't want to go play for a team that doesn't want me there or doesn't want to win.
Doesn't put the effort in,
But at the same time, it's like, well, then why do you have the draft for the American kids that have to go to those teams, right? So then it's like to me, for a level playing field, you have to do both. So either get rid of the draft for everybody else and everybody can sign when they're 18, or you make the international have a draft. I mean, there's too much flip-flopping of rules, and it's not a level thing for everybody.
I mean, really, Tony got my mind kind of tumbling and going forward on this a little bit in terms of like, could you go radically the other direction? Could you abolish, just like what you're saying, abolish the draft altogether? But then that has to come with it, part and parcel, salary floors, mandatory spending amounts.
Right. Then you'd have to put in the salary cap and everything, which the players will never go for because they think they're going to lose out on money.
Right. But you'd want everyone to spend. That would be the point. Like, you couldn't do that if Pittsburgh and Kansas City and Miami weren't going to spend anything. And then they just wouldn't get anybody in the draft, and all the best players would only go to L.A. and New York.
Right, because then if you're L.A. or New York and you have all the resources, you can go outspend everybody.
Right,
yeah.
You could just fill your minor leagues with all the best talent.
And then you got everybody, and then it'll just be the same two teams at the top all the time.
And I mean,
even more than it already is.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, like, ultimately, even though they had those relationships with Jackson Merrill, he still had to be drafted.
Right.
You know, and versus like this system, you have those relationships, and the kid can still decide to go somewhere else or to go. You know what I mean? It's up to the kid.
Why would anybody sign? It would be just like college athletics. Why would anybody sign to play baseball at Wisconsin? It's like, I don't want to play in the snow.
Right.
They don't spend a lot of money on it. Same thing with football. We'd be like, the Padres could be San Diego State, and they couldn't get anybody to play. Right. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, the Fernando guy got missed, and then he's doing really well. He's gone. That's the, you want it to be like college athletics? Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Interesting discussion nonetheless, all sparked by a young man who took the identity of a deceased younger man to try and find his way through the jungles and into a giant professional contract. And there were the Padres.
It's like a Dateline
holding the
episode.
contract, ready, open arms.
They would have signed him if this wouldn't have come out, right?
Come on in. And thankfully, he got discovered. And therefore, we don't have the rest of this.
And we have $5 extra million to spend.
Chris Hansen was going to be showing up saying, here, take a seat.
Yeah, wait a minute. What's going on here?
Have a seat. How old are you, really?
Wow.
When we took a
turn. All right.
When
we go to break.
When we come back, maybe I'm trying to think of a bigger one. A bigger game of high-stakes poker that I've seen in Major League Baseball than what Gerrit Cole did over the weekend.
Deadline for that's today, isn't it?
Yes. Deadline is either 5 or 2 o'clock today. Will Gerrit Cole still be a Yankee? Will Gerrit Cole all of a sudden be the top free agent pitcher on the market, or one of the top free agent pitchers on the market? All of that when we come back on San Diego's #1 sports station. It's Andy and Elsten, 97.3 The Fan. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com and get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. It's 11:25. Welcome back. It's Annie and Elsten here with you on The Fan. So, Gerrit Cole didn't cover first base, and I will never forgive him. End of segment.
Spoken like a true Yankees fan.
And then he said,
Wait a minute.
Give me $36 million more
Yeah.
or I walk.
Yeah.
Is that what the club option is? Is that officially? Is it 36 officially?
Here's what it is. Gerrit Cole had, what did he originally sign? A 9-year deal?
9 year. Here's his contract. 9 year, $324 million. Gave an opportunity to opt out after 2024 this year, which he did.
Right.
Team can void the opt out by exercising the 2029 club option.
Right.
Which I'm assuming is just the same, an additional $36 million.
Yeah. So he came here from Houston after
2020.
the Stros lost in 2019, and he has pitched 5 solid seasons for the Yankees. I mean, he's definitely returned value on his contract. He hasn't underperformed his contract.
Right.
His
He's
worst
a great
year.
pitcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, this year he was hurt at the beginning of the year. He was held to only 17 starts this year, but he pitched well enough in the playoffs, certainly pitched well enough in the World Series to do nothing to dissuade anybody from the idea that Gerrit Cole is one of the preeminent aces in Major League Baseball. But with that said, Gerrit Cole is 34 years old. And by opting out of his deal, he has decided to play a high-stakes poker game with the New York Yankees. He is basically putting in an all-in bluff right now because Gerrit Cole should not want to get out of this contract.
It's a great contract.
He's set till he's through 38 years old.
Yeah. So the Yankees have to decide by 5 p.m. today whether they give him another $36 million and one more year of service time or, control time or whatever to his contract. And otherwise, that's it, right? That voids his opt-out.
Now, if the Yankees had won the World Series, this bluff would have carried even more weight because Gerrit Cole would have led them to the World Series. And the idea of letting Gerrit Cole walk while they just went down the the Street of Champions or whatever, the Canyon of Champions, and had all the confetti rain down, would have been completely impossible. But they didn't win the World Series, in part because he didn't cover first base, idiot. But nonetheless, they didn't win the World Series. And now Cole has put his chips in the middle. And now the Yankees, they're put to the question, but the question is call or fold. In the poker parlance of the metaphor I'm building, they get to look at it. They know the exact pot odds, and they get to call or fold. Because now, Annie, they get to evaluate. They've only got 2 days to do it, but they get to look at Gerrit Cole and say, here's a set cost for Gerrit Cole for ages 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. 5 years, $180 million. Do we want to pay that for Gerrit Cole? Is Gerrit Cole's next 5 years, are those years worth $180 million? Because if the Yankees decide no, they can just let him walk into free agency. And honestly, I don't think any team is giving him 5 years, $180 million for those years of his life.
Yeah, this is the risk here. So he's a Boris client. And if he gets to free agency, Gerrit Cole, he's wanting, the reason you would do this is to get paid even more than what you would end up making with the Yankees over the next 5 years or 4 or 5 years, right? I don't know that he would get that from another team. I really don't. It is, he's 34. I'm reading this article right now that Jorge Castillo wrote for ESPN in March of 2024, March of this year, where the Yankees received positive news Thursday. Gerrit Cole was informed he will not need Tommy John surgery, at least for now. He's got to undergo non-invasive treatment. He's going to be shut down. So while he has been an absolute workhorse and he has lived up to his contract, is there a chance that he is going to have some arm trouble, maybe going to need some Tommy John surgery, or at least going to need to learn how to manage that arm a little bit better. Is there some kind of innings load that's caught up with him? I'd be, if I was a team, a little unsure of this. And then you look at the free agents that are going to be available, the Corbin Burns, guys that you could maybe bring onto your team. That Blake Snell, that, are you maybe younger, maybe even less money, maybe even higher upside. I mean, Gerrit Cole is a fantastic pitcher, but you're gambling a lot. Or I guess Gerrit Cole could enter free agency and then end up getting less than he would have made with the Yankees if he would have just stayed with the contract.
I think that's more likely. Yeah, I think that's more likely, to be honest with you.
I agree with you. I think the Yankees could look at this and go, hang on. We can get Cole, you did great. Did great for us. However, the back end of this deal is where we adopt all the risk. The back end of this contract is where we're the ones that are on the hook. We're betting every year that as you age, that your elbow's going to stay healthy, that your stuff is going to remain, that you're going to age like Scherzer or Verlander, and you're going to conclude a Hall of Fame career. And by the way, Gerrit Cole very well could do that.
Yeah, I mean, his numbers are so impressive. I mean, he hasn't missed time for a non-COVID ailment since going on the injured list with elbow inflammation in September 2016, before this year. Like he had gone that long without an elbow injury or any kind of arm injury, or at least injured list injury, except for the a COVID thing. He's made at least 30 starts in every full season since 2017. I mean, he's got good, impressive workhorse numbers. Obviously a fantastic pitcher, but then you wonder, is there an arm thing going on based off of what happened this year? And why would you want it? I don't know why you'd want to get out of that contract. It's a good contract.
For an extra $36 million. I mean, how much more is that to him, right? Like what's an extra $36 million when you're 39 years old going to do for you when you're getting it every single year? It doesn't make any sense. Why risk potentially leaving? I don't understand the reward here for Gerrit Cole.
Yeah.
And then if you're the Yankees, right? We're not talking about the Padres here that have to worry about a couple of budgetary things. We're not talking about like the Pirates or even like the Astros, who even though they spend money are not that. We're talking about the organization that can spend the most money out of any team in Major League Baseball with the Dodgers. Right? So why would you take on a 35-year-old Gerrit Cole and continue to pay him $36 million? This is a get-out-of-jail-free card, to be honest with you.
I think you're right.
You got Gerrit Cole. Why would I give Gerrit Cole $36 million when he's 39 years old? When, as Annie pointed, I could go get Corbin Burns. I could get Max Fried. I can sign Jack Flaherty. I could get all three of those guys for probably a little bit north of what I have to pay Gerrit Cole. I'd rather have those three players than Gerrit Cole because Flaherty's 29, Fried's 30, Corbin Burns is 30. I could even give Corbin Burns Gerrit Cole's contract. And
basically, that's
better.
what I'm suggesting.
And that is way better.
Yes.
I'm exchanging Gerrit Cole for a 30-year-old. I'm upgrading. I'm getting rid of him, and I'm getting a 30-year-old, and I'll just give him Gerrit Cole's contract and just tell Gerrit Cole to kick rocks.
And in doing that, if the Yankees did that, right, so they're hitting the time machine. They're de-aging their ace by 5 years, going from a 35-year-old ace to a 30-year-old ace. The money would be basically the same. The projected contract for Burns is 7 years, $245 million. That's a little over $30 million a year. They're paying Cole $36 million a year.
They gave him a 9.325, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Unless they absolutely love Gerrit Cole and they just feel like that is the guy that they want, like a Kershaw or whatever. That is the guy they want till the end or whatever.
Aaron Judge,
and so
was
then,
the captain of the team. You had to sign him.
And maybe then, hey, you're the Yankees. Okay, give him an extra $36 million. Now you have an extra year on his contract. So now he goes out with the Yankees or whatever. Or we could be idiots, I guess, and watch Gerrit Cole go get $40 million a year on free agent market. I don't know if I
don't
see
think anybody's giving him $40 million.
You know what could happen? I'll give you.
I guess an outrageous contract is.
I'll give you a wild scenario, and this is just wild scenario. But for me, if I'm Cashman, sitting where I am right now talking to Hal Steinbrenner like a crazy man. I'm looking like the guy with the red strip. Jason Day losing his mind.
He's the heat miser over there.
And I'm saying we've got such a unique opportunity right now. We've got such a unique pivot opportunity right now as a franchise because we're gonna spend bank on Soto. We're gonna go all in on Soto.
Yeah.
but we can simultaneously freshen our rotation and get out from under Garrett's deal. And by signing Burns, we're making the Orioles worse. Now the Orioles they don't have their ace anymore. They spent all those resources to get 1 year of Burns. Now they don't get Burns. We've got Burns.
We know for a fact the Orioles aren't signing Gerrit Cole.
Right.
The amount of money they spent.
No chance.
Right.
No chance. And then they let Cole go. And you know who would be sitting right there, spurned by Soto, bummed out, and going, hang on, we can steal the Yankees' ace. The Mets.
Correct.
And Cole could stick in New York and get paid by the Mets and just go be a New York pitcher across to the National League.
You know they would probably pay him $40 million.
Yes, they would.
They would overpay for him.
They'd
for sure.
probably give him 3 years at a higher average annual value with a club option.
Yes.
And
It's got to be a team like that. Unless the market just absolutely drops for him and then he's going to end up making less and a team could get him on a more team-friendly contract. But that's even hard to, I guess. I still think he'd make probably a lot. Might not be as much as he would have made on that contract in New York unless he's going to a team like the Mets or the Dodgers or something like that.
Well, that's why I asked the question during the break. MLB Network announces Padres signed Gerrit Cole. Haven't seen the contract details yet. What would that money figure have to be for you to be comfortable with them signing Gerrit Cole, who, as you mentioned in the report, doesn't have to get Tommy John yet, or whatever the wording was, but it sounded like it was a matter of when, not if. And he's 35 years old. How much money would you have to see on that board where you're like, this makes sense to us, this is not a major risk for a team? And the Padres are a contending team that's just not in the category of Dodgers and Yankees money.
correct. And my honest answer would be there isn't a real number that would exist that would make sense.
It'd have to be like $25 million a year. I would
Right.
be like, okay, that sounds good.
Cool.
Pushing it at $30 million a year, but then at that point, it's like, why don't we just bring Blake Snell back?
I would much rather have Blake Snell.
Right. So it's like, if
Than
it doesn't
Gerrit
make sense for the Padres, who need starting pitching, I know there's a little bit of money, budgetary things, but as a contending team, what other teams would it make sense for aside from the Dodgers, who spend way too much money, and the Mets, who spend way too much money?
Yeah, maybe the Cubs, maybe the Braves if Fried departed.
They don't spend that kind of money, though.
I don't know. He might not need Tommy John, but either way, you figure he's going to have to manage his arm.
He's
right?
34 years old. He's damaged
he's 34,
goods at
and
this point.
he's talked about how it's been tougher for him to bounce back between outings, et cetera, et cetera. Like, there's something going on, So, I don't know.
And I know it's a different type of injury history, but the Rangers signed Jacob deGrom at age 34. Same age that Cole is right now.
How many starts does he have for?
And he started, maybe total of 10 games the last 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
He finally got in action, I think the last week of the season.
He got 3 starts this year. He's had a total of 9 starts in 2 years under that contract for Texas. So that's a very common version of the type of thing that can happen. Strasburg signed his gigantic extension, and I think he started 10 more games for the Nationals in his career, and then he was done.
His injury is obviously different, but
yes,
the point still stands of where he's at right now. Gerrit Cole's age of 34 years old. I just don't think the market's going to be what he thinks it's going to be for himself. If you're the Yankees, it's actually smart for you to just not give him. Just go ahead, see what you got.
I think so too.
You might be able to bring Gerrit Cole back on less money.
Yeah.
Let's take a time out. High stakes poker. I think Cole might watch that pot go away.
Is this also something that's going to be a Boris fail in?
It's possible.
It could be.
He's not on a hitting streak right now. He is definitely in a slump in his last couple of big plays here.
Yeah, but Gerrit Cole has to agree to it. So Gerrit Cole has to be on the page of let's go for this.
Players always believe in themselves.
When we come back, what's good from the weekend that was? Annie and Elsten here with you, your midday hang. San Diego's #1 sports station. We're back after a quick timeout on 97.3 The Fan. 11:44. Welcome back, everybody. Annie and Elsten here with you on The Fan. Annie Halpern, Craig Elsten, Braden Suprenant. Each go our own separate ways. Friday at 2 o'clock, reconvene here on a Monday. I don't know what they did. They might know what I did. I don't know. Let's find out. Let's get some positive thoughts from our various travails in the weekend that was with what's good. All right. Annie, what's good?
My what's good goes to the beautiful Dia de los Muertos celebrations all over San Diego
yes.
this weekend. I was downtown for a little bit and also in the Otay Mesa area, and there was beautiful altars and performances and the way that the faces are painted and everything. So, it was very pretty. And it was nice weather in San Diego. It was just a nice celebratory day outside.
That's awesome. So you said you saw some ofrendas in Otay Mesa or various altars and
Yes.
offerings to the dead. I know, of course, Old Town has a lot of decoration going on.
I wasn't in Old Town, but I saw those on the news, and they looked very lovely.
That's awesome. Dia de los Muertos came and went. I hope everyone took down their Halloween decks.
I hope some of you didn't.
They're supposed to stay up through Dia Day and then
I think most of our
Down.
stuff is down.
down. Yesterday inflated the pumpkin so that we could dry it off and put it away.
Oh, okay.
And it's
It's
put
all
away.
put away.
It's put
yeah.
away. It's put away. What's good, Braden?
Had a good weekend. Did some USD volleyball on Saturday. It was a fun match between them and LMU. LMU edged them in the fifth set. Stayed around and watched the football game a little bit as USD beat up on Davidson. So that was my Saturday. Then watched college football with some buddies Saturday night, and then Sunday came over here, did the show, kind of had a relaxing Sunday, doing a couple other things, and then waited for the playoffs to get seeded for high school football. A lot to talk about on the show tonight at 10 o'clock on
Ooh,
America's
tune in.
Finest Football Show. So a lot of controversy with the new rating system, so I got to watch all the coaches bitch and moan about where they're seated and all that other
Is Valhalla
stuff.
in the playoffs?
No, they're one of the 17 schools that did not make the playoffs.
Dang it.
All but 17 schools made the playoffs.
Yeah, and
All
that's
but
like where the
17.
controversy kind of is.
Me and
like,
Greg Garcia just left out.
there are two schools that are
a
0-10
shame.
that are in the playoffs.
Que pena.
So, and that upset a lot of people. It's like, well, St. Augustine's 0-10. Why are they in the playoffs? And Fallbrook's 0-10. Why are they in the playoffs? Well, out of all the schools, like 80% of the schools that play high school football in San Diego make the postseason. Out of the 70 schools out of 87 make the postseason. And as much as you could be upset that an 0-10 school made the playoffs, it's like there's nobody that has a winning record waiting behind them
Right.
that can take their play. It's just you have too many schools make the playoffs. So unless you start cutting down the playoffs, you're going to have this problem. And people are like, well, the Southern section has 16-team brackets. And it's like 16 brackets. Like, well, the Southern section, only 53% of their schools make the playoffs. 80% of San Diego schools make the playoffs. So you're going to have some 0-10 teams making the playoffs. Like, well, it's unfair that Saints has a home game, they're 0-10. It's like, well, if they're going to be in, you got to go on strength of schedule. They played better. That's what it is. You have too many schools to make the playoffs. So
Right.
that's all fun. We're going to do the full breakdown tonight at 10 o'clock. Bye week for the Dons, so a little bit less on my plate this
Okay,
week. And
all
then
right.
this weekend going out to Texas on Thursday night. So I'll be off with you guys on Friday. We're off next Monday,
Oh.
which is great. Veterans Day.
Oh.
So we got a 3-day weekend coming up. So I'll be back Monday afternoon. But
I had no idea.
so some what's
nor did
good
I.
for next. What we don't have a what's good next week on a Monday unless we do
We'll
it on
have
Tuesday.
a what's good on a Tuesday is what we'll have.
Yeah, that's right. But
And
little
we'll just-
little tease for a
yeah.
what's good next week there, Craig.
We'll just jump in on the bumper and go, Tuesdays. What
Yeah,
do
that's
they
right.
say?
Tuesday.
Hey there.
Tuesdays can be rough after a 3-day
Tuesdays can be
weekend.
rough.
Nobody's complaining about the sun being changed, right? The daylight savings
Oh.
happens
Would you
over
like
the
me to
weekend.
complain?
That would be
'Cause I will-
actually that should have been my what's good.
I don't know. I thought I convinced you guys in January why it actually makes more sense.
I like this.
I
Time
don't
change.
mind the 5 o'clock dark.
Sorry.
I would rather have it be dark at 5 than dark at 8:30 in the morning.
completely fine with daylight savings time, and I love it. And to me, and I'm just going to stand over here on my own little molehill.
You would
and
rather
just stand there.
There's a lot of people that are over there too. That
but you
if
have
you
a
do
choice,
live in
though.
San Diego,
Like-
you can take advantage
Yeah.
of the sunshine.
I saw
late.
some politician that wants to like put that again on the ballot, saying like,
we already
vote-
passed it.
we vote for one less hour of sunlight. No. You don't control the sunlight. You just pick what time you would like the sunlight.
Correct.
Would you rather have the sunlight at 8 in the morning, or would you rather have the sunlight at 5 p.m.? That is your choice.
Mm-hmm. Those are the
I would
choices.
rather have the sun at 8 in the morning than wake up at 8 and like be on the way to work at dark and it's
It was
like
way too
8:15.
bright this morning, as far as
That's
I was
right.
concerned. It was way too
Poor
bright.
Craig was he woke up before 6 because the
Walking
sun
the
was
yep.
peeking through the glass.
Walking the dog, way too bright, sun too high in the sky. On my little molehill, to me, the winter, we get 1 day, 1 hour advantage. It's that one Sunday, we wake up, you feel so refreshed, and then you look at the clock and you're like, oh, it's only 6:45. Wow, I feel so refreshed.
I think our
that's the one day.
Like my body clock is better acquainted with lighter earlier, dark.
So
I mean, like
the
light in
standard
the morning,
time.
dark
this
at
is
night.
standard
Yes.
time you're in right now, Annie. This is the standard time. We're just
Right,
with
it's-
past daylight
The
savings.
sun comes up in the morning, it sets at night.
I can't believe how many
So-
people think that like we're voting to have the sun be up less time. It's the sun is up the same amount of time. It's just what time of the day you want it picked.
We don't knock on the door of the sun and
Yeah,
say,
the sun.
hey,
It's like,
sun.
hey, sun.
I need
Yeah,
you to come
can you
down
stay out
earlier."
longer
Yeah.
than you normally do?
I think we just want
we just voted for that.
summer days all year.
Yeah.
Is what we actually want.
You know what? It'd be great if if it was daylight all the time until like except for 8 hours when I sleep, and the weather was 75 all the time. But you
Hey,
know
buddy,
what?
March
We're pretty
6th.
close to
Can't
that.
March 6th, countdown going on in my head right
Oh,
now
gosh.
to March 6th. And when daylight savings time comes back. And I'll happily eat that 1 hour on
Hey,
Sunday.
there's some people that like the nightlife, baby.
Yeah.
5 o'clock starts the nightlife.
5 o'clock
earlier.
nightlife,
That's
exactly.
right. Start it going.
In a month, 4:30, and it's pitch dark as you're driving home.
Announced sunset
me
tonight,
nuts.
4:58. Be careful, Craig.
Yeah, me and JH619.
It's getting darker and
this.
darker until December 21st.
Me and JH right there, exactly in simpatico.
You talk to the sun like he does.
Maybe. What's good for me from the weekend that was, well, we got to have a lovely little me and Mitzi weekend because James was
Nice.
off camping.
Oh yeah, what did you decide to do?
We went to the Gulls game on
So
Saturday.
you did
Very
convince her to
cool.
go to the Gulls game,
We
or
did.
did she want
Well,
to go?
she didn't really need convincing. I asked her on
Oh.
Friday. I said, "Hey, do you want to?" And she's like, "Sure." I mean, for both of us, it was the first time in 6 years
Oh, wow.
that we had gone to the Gulls. Neither one of us had gone to the Gulls since I was no longer, working for them, which was 2018.
How was the environment?
It was good. It was fine. I mean, it wasn't as packed as it used to be,
Also not
Eh,
as good as they
well,
used
they've
to
been
be.
really bad for like 3 or 4 years in a row, the Gulls. So, it used to be on a Saturday they didn't have any sections blanketed out in the upper deck. They did. They probably had, I don't know what they announced. They probably had 7,000 or so there. Still a good crowd. And, shout out to my buddy Nate, who has been the director of tickets there since day one. And I let him know that I was coming. And, he set us up with right on the glass seats. Right there
That's fun.
by the tunnel where the players come out.
Yeah.
And right behind the eastern goal.
All the action.
Yeah,
Right there.
So I got to take some awesome pictures. If you check out my Instagram at 619 Sports and Life, when the players run out and the smoke machines were going, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. I just went like, how you go just click, 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 click. Like I did that, and then I have one that I'm like, pro photographer could have taken that shot. Like that's a great shot. But it was quite a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Good atmosphere. It's still great to be up close with hockey, to see the speed of it. When you're right down on the ice, you get a much more direct feel of the speed of the players, the strength of the players, how hard they are crashing into those boards as they're fighting for the puck, so on and so forth. And so a good time was had by all. Now, the Gulls did lose the game. They were behind 3-0 with 2 minutes left when we walked out.
They won.
They won yesterday.
Okay,
They
that's
won
what I was
yesterday.
thinking of. All right.
They won yesterday. We'll have that in the sports fix coming up momentarily. But they did pick up a win. Not the day I was there, but it was still great to be there. Reconnoitered with a couple old friends, with Nate, with Derek Dawson, who still works there. Saw Joey, who's still doing the equipment there for the Gulls. But it was a nice time, good atmosphere. It's funny where they put us. The row right behind me, literally right behind me, Baja Rick.
Like the Baja Rick?
The Baja Rick.
Wow.
Just sitting there.
That's
I'm
awesome.
like, wait, I think that's Baja Rick.
Yes.
And then he recognized me, and then so we chatted a little bit. Baja Rick.
Shout
Said
out
he's
Baja
had that
Rick.
exact seat for 30 years for the
That's
Gulls,
great.
all the way
That's
back to the
great.
WCHL. Wild stuff. 12 o'clock Sports Fix coming up next on Annie and Elsten. Lunch hour has arrived on a Monday. Welcome back, everybody. It is your midday hang. Annie and Elsten here with you. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie Heilbrunn, I'm Craig Elsten. Braden Soprenet alongside, together in our Odyssey studios overlooking Murphy Canyon, halfway into the program. And as you open up your lunch, it's time for us to open up a can of sports knowledge for you in the Fix. Baseball free agency begins in less than 2 hours. Lots of decisions made in the grand old game over the weekend. Annie's got all the details for you to kick things off.
All right, we have a lot to get to here in the MLB portion, starting with right-hander Gerrit Cole, who has triggered the opt-out in his deal with the Yankees per ESPN. He is not a free agent yet, as the club has a chance to void the opt-out by tacking on an extra year at the $36 million salary, the same salary as the rest of his contract. The Yankees' deadline to decide on Cole is 5 p.m. today, Eastern Time. The Nationals have declined their end of Joey Gallo's $8 million mutual option for the 2025 season. He will receive a $2.5 million buyout as he heads into free agency for the third consecutive winter. The Brewers have declined their $10.5 million club option on closer Devin Williams, according to Jeff Passan. Williams will receive a $250,000 buyout, but does remain under team control for the 2025 season via arbitration. The Royals announced that they've signed right-hander Michael Wacha and old friend to a 3-year contract with a club option for the 2028 season. In total, the 3-year pact will net Wacha at least $51 million in guaranteed money. Meanwhile, over with the Reds, right-hander and old friend Nick Martinez turned down his $12 million player option for next season. And in Atlanta, the Braves announced today that they've signed both right-hander Reynaldo Lopez and left-hander Aaron Bummer to new contracts. The Orioles exercised a club option on right-hander Sir Anthony Dominguez while declining their option on left-hander Danny Colombe. Rangers right-hander Nathan Eovaldi has declined his $20 million player option for the 2025 season. He is now a free agent. President of Baseball Operations Chris Young added that the club has great interest in reuniting with him this winter, so we'll see if they re-sign him. Cody Bellinger exercised his $27.5 million player option for the 2025 season. His 3-year, $80 million deal with the Cubs last winter included opt-outs after both the 2024 and 25 seasons, but he will pass on the first opt-out in order to remain in Chicago for at least one more year. And in non-free agency stories, while the Rays are still investigating the damage at Tropicana Field, the city of St. Petersburg took a step toward potentially fixing up the stadium recently, as the St. Pete City Council agreed to spend up to $6 million in order to create a temporary drainage system and waterproof exposed areas of the stadium. The mitigation process figures to take up to 8 weeks, so the process could be halted if the stadium is declared impossible to salvage. So this is essentially an insurance thing. The decision to spend comes as an attempt by the city to protect itself from an insurance dispute while they are assessing the damage. And finally, the Silver Slugger finalists were announced today. Silver Slugger finalists for the Padres are Manny Machado at third base, Jackson Merrill and Jurickson Profar in the outfield, and Luis Arraez at the utility position. The manager and 3 coaches from every major league team cast their votes for the winners, which will be announced Tuesday, November 12th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on MLB Network.
Okay, yet another award that we can either be a finalist for. Or I think Jackson's got a shot.
I think so.
At the Silver Slugger.
Yeah.
For center field. I think he's got a shot at it. Here's Braden. He's going to take a shot at football news for you.
Yeah, a lot of football news today. We'll start with the reverse hurdle heard around the world. Saquon Barkley, insane. Eagles coach Nick Sirianni is a man of many words, but even he was left speechless after running back Saquon Barkley's reverse hurdle over a defender Sunday in a 28-23 win over the Jags. It was the best play I've ever seen, Sirianni said. What I think is so cool, there's going to be kids all over the country and all over Philadelphia trying to make that play and talking about that play and simulating that play as they play backyard football or Pee Wee football.
And getting injured.
Yes, exactly. They ain't going to be able to make it. I believe he's the only one in the world that could actually do it. I'm speechless. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable to say the least.
It was pretty
Saquon
cool.
Barkley did a spin move and then hurdled a Jags defender backwards in yesterday's win over the Jags. If you want to see that, it's all over social media. Longtime rival, the Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Cowboys, not as cheery as the Eagles are. Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott expected to miss several weeks with a hamstring injury. Prescott is seeking a second opinion to confirm treatment options, source told Adam Schefter. Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, meanwhile, has a sprained AC joint, source told Schefter. Though Lamb's shoulder is sore, the injury is not considered serious, and he is expected to have a chance to play Sunday against the Eagles. Cowboys also could be getting defensive end Micah Parsons back from his high ankle sprain this week. One source told Schefter that Parsons, who has missed 4 games with his injury, should be back against the Eagles. But bad news for the Cowboys, probably no Dak Prescott for the next couple of weeks. Bad news if you're Dennis Allen and Derek Carr is your starting quarterback. New Orleans Saints have fired Dennis Allen after losing their 7th straight game Sunday. Team announced Monday. Special teams coordinator Darren Rizzi has been named the interim coach. Saints won their first 2 games this season but haven't won since, with their latest loss coming to the Carolina Panthers in a 23-22 defeat yesterday. This is the second time Dennis Allen has been fired as a head coach. Both times Derek Carr has been his quarterback. Take that for what it's worth.
I saw that Carr has just to lose to the Raiders, and then he'll have lost to every team in football.
Wow. It's only a matter of time. Do they play the Raiders this year?
I don't know. Good question.
Derek Carr is going to sit that game out. Make sure he doesn't get that streak. And what is the most significant step he has taken in his recovery from Achilles tendonitis? San Francisco 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey returned to practice Monday. Niners officially opened McCaffrey's 21-day practice window Monday afternoon, which means he has 3 weeks to be activated from injury reserve to the 53-man roster. Sure enough, McCaffrey was on the practice field and warming up with his teammates during a roughly 2-minute viewing period open to the media. For the better part of the past 2 weeks, Niners have pointed to this week for McCaffrey's potential return as he continued to work through the tendonitis that kept him out of the team's first 8 games. So, San Francisco could be getting an upgrade with Christian McCaffrey. A lot of fantasy teams could be getting an upgrade Christian McCaffrey. That's it for the NFL. We'll be back with college and high school in just a little bit, but first, here's Craig.
Todd in the chat, my golfing partner from Saturday, notes that the Raiders and Saints play in December. There you go. So Carr can get the record and be the biggest loser and show up on an NBC former reality show down the road.
Hopefully he doesn't have to lose that much weight, though.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he could trim up a little, I guess. Let's start things off with a local team's scoreboard. San Diego Wave FC played their final home match of the season on the road. They played their final home match of the season on the road, facing a Racing Louisville side that was eliminated from playoff contention the night before when Bay FC won and clinched. The result, a nationally televised match on CBS where the home team was the road team and the road team was the home team, but kind of a ghosted version of themselves. And San Diego took advantage. The Wave scored twice in the first 22 minutes. Jaden Shaw scored in the 3rd minute. Maria Sanchez, a free kick golazo in minute 22. They got a Savannah McCaskill goal, her first of the entire season, in the second half, and beat Louisville 3-1, a win that concludes a rough season on a high note. The Wave finished 10th on the 14-team NWSL table. We'll check the NWSL playoff bracket later in the week. After playing 7 of their first 8 games on the road, including 6 in Canada, the San Diego Gulls returned home on Saturday night to host the Abbotsford Canucks, hoping to get some momentum started. Well, Saturday was not that night, as Abbotsford scored opportunistically, including a shorthanded goal early, an empty net goal late, building a 3-0 lead. San Diego put one in the final seconds, but lost 3-1, dropping to 2-7 on the season. And it certainly looked like a lost weekend when Abbotsford Sunday afternoon built a 4-1 lead halfway through the 3rd period. But then the Gulls were like, boop, and shazammed themselves into existence, erupted for 5 goals in 10 minutes, and won the game 6-4. Should have gone to that one. San Diego now 3-7 on the season. They go right back on the road for 3 more games, including a pair in Tucson this weekend. NBA news, San Antonio Spurs head coach Greg Popovich reportedly will be sidelined indefinitely after suffering a health issue. Over the weekend, the story reported by ESPN's Shams Charania, assistant Mitch Johnson taking over while Popovich is out, Spurs on a road trip. This is something that's happening way too often. Milwaukee Bucks forward Bobby Portis announced yesterday that his home was burglarized Saturday night while he was playing at home, losing to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's if you know where an NBA player lives, you also know when they won't be home.
Yeah,
Is that a home game for them?
Right, there's a schedule that's pretty public.
Yeah. Portis shared a video on social media that appeared to show 2 men outside his home on a security camera. The alleged suspects could be seen breaking glass on the front door to the home. While Portis did not get into specifics, he said many of his prized possessions were stolen. So just crappy. And it's not the first time, like I said, that it's happened, but a crappy thing that's happening far too often. Yesterday, just 3 games in the NBA. Detroit beat Brooklyn 106-92. Atlanta outpaced New Orleans, who played without Zion Williamson, 126-111. Orlando has no Paolo Banchero. They were completely overwhelmed by Dallas, 108-85. The NBA does not play on Election Day. So as a result, everyone is playing tonight. Tonight is their Frozen Frenzy.
Frozen Frenzy. Wow.
15 games in the NBA
Hardcore
tonight,
hardwood tonight.
including the Lakers at the Detroit Pistons. That's going to be Bronny's last game on the team before they get home, and he heads off to the G League later this week.
Have they announced that, or is that your prediction?
They've not announced it, but like in the Lakers newsletter, they've already talked about it.
They're like, yeah,
and even LeBron was like, we've always known his journey was going to include the G League this year. So,
His journey.
yeah, his journey is going straight to South Bay is what his journey is
right.
after today. Clippers host the San Antonio Spurs. We told you Spurs are on a road trip. Well, they start at Intuit Dome tonight. And those are probably the biggest games on the scoreboard today. It's kind of a lot of big versus little. Phoenix hosts Philadelphia, and Paul George is expected to make his first appearance of the year for the Sixers. Over the weekend, Sixers star center Joel Embiid slapped a reporter and got into a confrontation with him.
Slapped him?
Yeah, it was open hand to the neck collarbone area is what it was described.
Laying a hand on anybody is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was bad. And Embiid was very offended that the columnist referenced Joel's son and his late brother, and basically said that Embiid had vowed to play for his son and he's not playing. So, like, what are you doing? Pretty uncouth on both sides of the situation.
Not a good situation.
No.
Yesterday in the National Hockey League, Chicago completed a weekend SoCal team sweep, beating the Anaheim Ducks 4-2. They had beaten the Kings earlier on. Today, just a couple of games in the National Hockey League, and our Southern California teams are out of commission. Oh, I take that back. Kings are in Nashville. LA Kings in Nashville. Kings are off to a 6-3-3 start this season. New Jersey will also take on Edmonton. By the way, Winnipeg won again over the weekend. They're 11-1. They're now my beloved Jets. The
beloved Jets.
We're gonna root for the Jets.
How'd the hockey team do?
We root for the Jets. We root against Club.
How'd the hockey club do?
Club. I'm not gonna go back and look it up.
We don't know.
I assume they didn't win. Just an assumption, but it's worth the horn. Anyway, we'll wrap things up with a look at what's going on in MLS Cup, including a major upset as the Red Bulls of New York completed a 2-game sweep of the Columbus Crew, meaning there will be a new MLS champion this year. RBNY beating Columbus in penalty kicks yesterday, 5-4 after a 2-2 draw. On the eastern side, the other 3 series are still in action, including the top overall seed Miami being pushed to a third game. Atlanta defeated Miami 2-1 over the weekend, evening that series at a game apiece. They will play a decider on November 9th. They will also play a decider between Orlando and Charlotte. It's like CLT. Why does CLT stand for Charlotte? It's Anyways, those two teams will play a decider on the 9th, as will Cincinnati and NYCFC. On the western side, 3 of 4 teams have advanced. The only team that is not is the top seed LAFC. I was watching this last night as up in British Columbia, Vancouver schooled LAFC 3-0. So that series will be played a 5th and deciding game on Friday. The other 3 teams have advanced: Seattle, Minnesota, and LA Galaxy. And that's a look at the scoreboard. Back to Braden.
High school football had the seedings over the weekend. Open division, Lincoln gets the 1 seed. They'll play Mission Hills the 4 next week. Cathedral Catholic will be at La Costa Canyon. Those teams will be off this weekend and will be back in action next weekend as they all get a first-round bye in the Open Division playoffs. We do have playoff games starting up on Friday. Division 1, San Marcos got the 1 seed, followed by Carlsbad, Granite Hills, and El Camino. Division 2, top 4 seeds were University City, Mater Dei, Helix, and Poway. D3, Central, Holtville, San Diego, and San Pasqual have the top 4 seeds. D4, Ramona, El Cap, Grossmont, Mission Bay. And in D5, it's Vista, Bonita Vista, Crawford, and Hoover. All brackets are 12 teams with the exception of the Open Division that only has 4. First round games will be this weekend. Quarterfinals will be next weekend. And the semifinals will be the weekend after that. Finals for the Open Division will be on Saturday, November 23rd at 7 o'clock at Snapdragon Stadium. All the other divisions will be playing in semifinal games that Friday, the 22nd, and then the following week on November 29th and 30th, all 5 divisions will be playing their CIF championship games at Southwestern College. If you want to check out the dates, places, and brackets, you can go to CIF's website, cifsandiego.org. Other news for you in the college realm. Oregon is unanimous choice for the number 1 in the Associated Press college football poll on Sunday, strengthening its bid for the top spot in college football playoff selection committee's first rankings of the season, which is the big thing that's happening tomorrow. Nothing else, just the college football playoff rankings.
Right.
Top 12.
That's what everyone's waiting for.
Everybody's going to be tuned into that at 6 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
I will not be because TCU is not even close to being in it, so I don't care. Maybe I'll watch for Tennessee. Top 10, Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State, Miami, Texas, Penn State, Tennessee, Indiana, BYU, and Notre Dame. This is the last week where anybody cares about the AP top 25 because after that, it's college football playoff top 25, and that's what seeds the playoffs. That's what people care about. Happy first day of college basketball to all that celebrate. A lot of teams are in action today. The Aztecs are not. Aztecs will play host to UCSD later on in the week.
On Wednesday, they're going to have their hands full.
They're going to be hosting
Tritons.
the Tritons of UCSD. San
And
Diego.
some lucky winners from 97 through the fan.
That's right.
That's
I don't know
right.
who, but
I don't know who either will be in attendance.
So San Diego State will host UC San Diego at 7 o'clock on Wednesday. San Diego will play Rider at 8 o'clock on ESPN Plus on Wednesday for the local colleges participating in college basketball. Major games today following ranked teams. Gardner-Webb's at Tennessee. Canisius will play in Tucson against Arizona. Texas A&M Corpus Christi at Purdue. Maine at Duke. Texas A&M versus UCF. Howard versus Kansas. Mississippi Valley State at Iowa State. And as one of my friends said, get excited, Craig, because the Marquette Golden Eagles are in action today. Stony Brook is at Marquette.
here we go.
In Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Fire up Marquette, according to my buddy that's a Marquette grad. Biggest game of the night, though, is Baylor at Gonzaga in the Finley Auto tip-off in Spokane, Washington. 8th-ranked Baylor Bears, 6th-ranked Gonzaga Bulldogs. You want to tune into that tonight. Instead of Monday Night Football, 8:30 p.m. on ESPN2, Baylor at the Zags, the only ranked matchup tonight on the opening day of college basketball. It is back.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to even play that good a game on your first game.
I know. I mean, think about the games Canisius at Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it normally is you play
Arkansas Pine Bluff at
your
Cincinnati.
local university
Yes.
or something along those lines.
Wright State, Kentucky.
Because no one wants to get clubbed in game 1.
Long Island's going down the Oxford, Mississippi.
Good luck to all.
Elon,
luck to all of
Elon at North Carolina, not Musk. Elon University.
The Elons.
Just good luck to one and all. I hope all the kids have fun and everyone gets out okay.
Texas is playing Ohio State in Vegas, but Ohio State's not ranked, so it's not a ranked matchup.
That's
No,
just far too much information. I don't think I'll watch college basketball tonight.
It's going to
Just
be
too
all
much.
I think almost every school
I
is
think
in
I'll wait for
action.
the Aztecs.
Yeah.
You can watch every
I might
NBA
check
game
out that
and college game. at the
Baylor
same time.
Gonzaga game a little bit, maybe, because Gonzaga eventually is going to be on our radar now.
Yes. Who is
Well, they already played USD. In
Braden,
conference.
remind me what is the Monday Night Football for tonight?
That is the Chiefs and the Bucks. The injured Bucks taking on the
All right.
world champion Chiefs. Chiefs by 9 tonight, 5:15
Yeah.
on the ESPN.
You could check out the
And on the
Gonzaga
airwaves
game.
right here. Night 7 through the fan. So
And that's your 12 o'clock sports fix for Monday, November 4th, 2024. When we come back on the Annie and Elsten program, we've got some more baseball chatter to get into, plus San Diego State taking on Boise State and, getting trucked. We'll give that a little bit of breath as well as we continue toward 2 o'clock. Win and Chris check in then, and we will have Monday Night Football starting with a pregame show at 4:30 today for those Chiefs and Bucks right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Don't let AI dictate your fantasy lineup. Instead, get bite-sized fantasy football analysis in your ears. Listen to the Sleeper King podcast, giving you all the fantasy insight you'll need in just 20 minutes every day. Every league has a Sleeper King, and it should be you. Follow the Sleeper King on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Annie and Elsten back with you. There's candy in the main room at Odyssey now. Candy in the break room.
It's kind of the candy that I feel like you'd pass over in your.
See,
are you choking on some peanuts?
I get it because we all just ate some sort of peanut candy treat, and those are inevitably going to get into your throat.
Not good for radio.
And then here we are.
So bad.
Here we are.
Rough.
Can't blame you though. I was experiencing the exact same thing myself a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And he fell victim to it.
Yes.
She's dying over there.
Exactly.
That's what you get. It's like the candy that you kind of pass over.
Do you? I mean, I don't pass over Snickers and Twix.
I pass over Snickers and Twix.
Do you?
Yeah, for like Reese's peanut butter cups.
Okay. All right.
Well, they had a lot of suckers in there.
Yeah,
We're not
did.
eating the suckers.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go into a radio station without finding a few suckers.
But it's still good candy. Hey, I mean, but for those who want it.
Yeah. Here's my problem is I don't count those. Like in my daily mental index of how much I've eaten. You know what I mean?
Those will get you.
You know what I mean? Like I'm sure everyone, if you're of certain age, if you're not a teenager, if you have metabolism that isn't, that of a gerbil, right? Like you have to at least kind of mentally keep track. And now I'm 52 now, so I try to think about it. Like, okay, well, what have I eaten today? What did I have for breakfast? What am I going to have for lunch? Am I getting enough protein? Did I avoid too many snacks? I want to have one nice snack at the end of the night. So am I, right? But I never count this stuff. I never count me just wandering over and eating a Twix and then wandering over again and eating a Snickers and then wandering over again. And there's a mini cupcake over there and just plowing that during a break.
That's what gets you every time.
That is.
I'm telling you.
They do count in your body.
Yeah, your body counts those calories.
Apparently it counts, but not in my head. It does not count.
It's a snack size. It's a fun size.
Right, fun. How many calories are in this? Fun. There's a fun number of calories, and that's you're only eating fun. You're not eating calories, right?
Probably
Just
150.
Fun. It's fun though.
It's fun.
It's so fun. So fun. So yes, I have a problem with that.
Andros in the chat is mad about passing over a Snickers. Listen, everybody has their favorites.
Yeah.
And you guys don't pass over Snickers. I'll eat a Snickers, but I'm just saying, like, it's not.
Right.
It's not my. If there was a Reese's peanut butter cups in there,
You're grabbing it.
yeah.
Every time.
100%.
Yeah. No, I feel that.
But I think that's good. It's good that there's not because
I could pass that.
I don't need more candy.
I could pass up candy.
Like
I'm right now starving though and haven't had anything to eat, so that's why I went with the Snickers. But I could pass up candy. Now it's the difference is I'm more of a salty guy. Plate of like fast food cheeseburgers, that would have been hard to pass up.
I hear you.
Candy, I could do it.
But it's just anything that's divvied up into small portions.
Yeah.
That's my total leak because then I'll just eat the small portions and feel like I didn't eat anything. Here's one we'll do. They'll have donut duty sometimes at church on Sundays, and then they'll bring home, my wife and son will bring home 4 or 5 donuts, like leftover donuts.
All the bad ones that nobody wants.
Well, but some of those are ones I like. Like I like a glazed raised. That's actually my favorite donut. But most people get the sprinkly whatever, but still it'll be there, and I'll be like, oh, I don't want to eat a donut. That's too much. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll chop it into a piece, and then I'll just have this piece of donut. And then you know what I do?
Have 4 pieces?
Yes.
4 quarters of the donut.
I have a small piece of donut 4 times as opposed to just a donut.
Spread out over a long period
And you
of time.
tell yourself you didn't have a donut.
Right.
But really.
But you really had a donut. Because I walked into the kitchen and I ate it. And then later I walked by it again. Oh, look, no, boop.
There it is.
Oh, hey, boop. Next thing you know, eating a donut, just like next thing you know, I basically ate a candy bar here.
But, yeah.
But if you had told me, Craig, here, eat a candy bar today, I would have been like,
no,
no, I'm not going to
no.
do that. Are you kidding me? Looking after my health.
Bet you 2 of those fun size probably equals a regular candy bar.
I'm
anyway.
sure. I almost guarantee you what I ate added up to a full-size candy, or at least
Very
three-quarters.
easy to.
At least three-quarters of a candy bar.
Yeah. Well, and those are so easy because you just pop them in.
That's what I mean. Boop,
Pop them in your
boop,
mouth.
Beep, boop, boop, boop,
Yeah.
boop. I'll do something really dumb. They used to have these delicious, like little sourdough cookies at Trader Joe's where it's 2 of them and they put either lemon or raspberry filling in between, but they're small. Like they're really small. They're basically bite-sized. So you have that, it's got the 2 rows there in the box. And you just, oh, boop, oh, boop, oh, boop, oh.
All of a
Wait,
sudden the
each one
box
of
is
those was
gone.
175 calories? Each one of those little tiny things? No, it was this small. I can't. Anything this small, the number of calories is designated as FUN. Fun. No number, just fun. Fun.
No. It's the body is body's processing it all the same.
Dr. Ummer would just disagree with all of this. He'd say he would. There's just fun, and then there's number. There's numbers over 150, and everything below that is just fun. Right? It's just smiles and stickers and rainbows, clouds.
It is until your jeans don't fit.
The body keeps the score, says Tyler in the chat. That's exactly right. The body is keeping the score. So please, Odyssey, put away those bags of candy. Like, because it's the same, if you leave the bowl.
It's a blessing and a curse.
It really is.
And they do such a nice job here of having their potlucks and
Yes.
having there's always something usually happening in
Right.
that little kitchen area.
Yes. And each time, hey, go fix
They're very
yourself
good
a
cooks
plate.
here. Yes.
Hey, guys, go fix yourself a plate. There's lasagna and there's ribs and there's whatever. I'm like, I've got 3.5 minutes to eat. I'm not going to eat lasagna.
It's hard to
But
scarf
you
down
give
things.
me these little fun sizers. Man, I can plow a fun sizer a break. I can wind up eating 4 candy bars here today. Just Kirbying in everything. It's ridiculous. Please move the fun size away. Aztecs, Boise State. Speaking of things that happened after our show on Friday, anyone watch the game?
I was busy with my own game, but the game started at like 5 o'clock, correct?
Yeah.
By the time, I mean, they started like at the end of our JV game at Point Loma High School. And like in the process of just like, taking pictures and saying the goodbyes as the last game of the regular season because JV doesn't have playoffs, I looked at my watch, and I got 3 notifications. It was like already 21-0 Boise State. Tough game for the Aztecs. Again, they're trying to build on something. They probably should have beat Washington State, who is now currently ranked. And Boise State's ranked just outside the top 10 and probably will be number 12 in this week's college football playoff rankings. I mean, if the season ended today, Boise State's in the college football playoff. So
That's pretty cool.
From that perspective, you're going against some pretty tough opponents the last couple of weeks, and it was going to be uphill sledding at Boise. Boise only lost to Oregon, I think, by a touchdown or something close. And Oregon's the number 1 team in the country, unanimous, as we talked about in our report. So, obviously, it was going to be a tough game. It's hard to play on a Friday night, short week, coming off a game where you play Washington State down to the wire. Just part of the process with those guys. I mean, it's going to take a little bit before San Diego State can get up and running. And you know what? The freshman quarterback that you've invested a lot of time in is making freshman quarterback mistakes that he probably won't make in the near future. So that's how I evaluate the Aztecs. I mean, it's a rough game, obviously, having to go against Boise State on a Friday night, but it is what it is, and you got to move on from that. But Boise State didn't have too many challenges this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the Aztecs loaded up to try and stop Ashton Jonty, and they did a great job in the first half and held him to 40 yards. And as a result, every one of their wide receivers was single covered and running down the field completely alone. And Madsen, whose first name is Maddux.
Madsen. Okay.
Like, was that a Greg Maddox fan?
Maybe.
Like, just name you Maddox.
24 for 32, 307, and 4 tuds. It's a good day at good day at the yard.
Pretty good day for Maddox. He was painting the corners. Maddox was. He did very well. And then Jonty just rips it open in the second half and finishes with 149 yards. And he has scored 20 touchdowns, and he has run for over 1,500 yards, and he's averaging 8 yards a carry. So there's something I still do enjoy amidst all of the craziness of college football. I do enjoy the supreme performer. Somebody who's putting up just Barry Sanders numbers or quarterbacks that throw for 600 yards a game. There's something enjoyable about that.
And having the game of his life right there, or having the great performance. Yeah, I'm with you guys. I watched the first quarter, and the score got pretty out of hand pretty fast. So then I flipped around a little bit, but yeah, they were overpowered. They were
Overmatched.
Yeah, overmatched. Yeah.
Hey, that's all right. You're supposed
That's
to be
how it goes.
overmatched.
Right, exactly.
You're supposed to be overmatched at Boise State. It's your first year for Coach Long's, for Coach Lewis's program. And I think, better days ahead, but a fairly predictable loss in that one. Okay, when we come back, it's time for our first silly game of the week. And today, we are playing for a pair of tickets to see comedian Tom Segura and his performance Friday at Pechanga Arena. So you're talking about one of the big comedians in the country on tour, filling up arenas. Tom Segura is here this Friday. And if you can win today's edition of Fast Money, you can go see Tom Segura. But what we're going to need two people on the phone at 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Phone lines are open right now because we need the first person to call in and be today's contestant. But we need a second person to call in and be an avatar. Just sit there online and root for the host, because if the contestant wins, they get the tickets. If the host wins, the avatar gets the tickets. So 833-288-0973 is our number. We're playing Fast Money, the very popular bonus round from the Family Feud game show, and we're coming back to do it right after this. Annie and Elsten playing silly games next on The Fan. Back with you on the Fan, Annie and Elsten. It is that time. Third segment, 12 o'clock hour. This is where every day we play a silly game. We take a little break away from the sports talk, have a prize up for grabs, chance to do a couple of laughs, have some fun for you to play along at home. We have a rotating set of 4 games, 4 silly games that we like to play in this segment. Today, it's Fast Money Day. You know, it literally just occurred to me, and I think this is the 60th time I've heard that bumper, that he says no feuding here at the start. I don't even know what I thought he said before. Like fielding? No fielding here.
I think I thought he said no fielding.
It's feuding. No feuding here. Because it's Family Feud. No feuding here. No fielding here. Like, well, what would that mean?
I don't know. I
That
just
wouldn't
thought
mean
it was
anything.
like he's trying to incorporate like baseball or something.
Yeah.
You know, fielding here.
No. Literally, that just occurred to me right now. Anyways, it is time to play Fast Money. Up for grabs today, a pair of tickets to see Tom Segura this Friday at Pechanga Arena, one of the most popular comedians touring in the country. So that means we need a contestant and we need an avatar that's rooting for the host. Today's contestant coming our way via North County, it's JD in San Marcos. Hello, JD. Welcome to
How you
Silly
guys doing?
Games. I'm doing great, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
First time listener, long time caller, you know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Now, local San Diego, been here my whole life.
Awesome.
Appreciate you, man. Well, you are going to be playing Fast Money. It's a very simple game. It's going to start with one decision on your part. You're going to pick your opponent. You can either take on myself or take on Annie. That host is going to walk out of the studio. Then our resident Ray Combs is Braden Soprenant. He's standing by. He has surveyed a recent studio audience of Annie and Elsten to get their most popular answers. To a set of 5 questions, you'll have 60 seconds to try and find the most popular answer for those questions. Then the host comes back in, gets the same questions, doesn't know what answers you gave, but cannot repeat your answers. So you do have that built-in advantage. If you find the number ones, you are going to be the winner. JD, would you like to take on Craig or take on Annie today?
Let's go ahead and take you on today, Craig.
All right.
All right.
That sounds like a plan, JD. I'm going to do that. Now, I just want to let Victor in San Diego know. Victor, you and I are new best friends.
Yes.
Because if I win, you get the Tom Segura tickets. So wish me
Awesome.
good thoughts. Feel good thoughts for the host as we get ready to play. All right, JD, you're locked in. I'm walking out. I'm going to hand over the scorecard to Annie.
Great.
And away we go.
All right, ready on your scorecard there, Annie?
Ready to keep score.
All right, JD, you got 1 minute on the clock to answer these 5 questions. If you
Alrighty.
get stumped on any of them, you can say pass. We can get back to it if we have more time. Clock will start after I ask you question number 1. Name a respected magazine that has a lot of pictures in it.
Us?
Us.
Us.
Like Us Weekly.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Name a romantic place people go on their honeymoon.
Hawaii.
Hawaii's a good one.
Good answer.
Name an activity you'd put off doing if you had a backache.
Weeding the yard.
Yard work. Name a specific request that people make when choosing an airline seat.
Specific request. Window seat.
Window seats. Good answer. Name a state that starts with the letter A.
Letter what?
Name a state that starts with the letter A.
Alaska.
Alaska, he says. And that's it. All set. Ready
All
to
right.
go. Now bring in Craig.
Craig is coming back in. Good answers.
Well, hi, guys.
What's up, Craig?
I'm excited. I don't think I've played the game in a minute.
It's a thrilling rush.
It's a thrilling rush.
Yeah, it's fun to play the game.
Fun to play the game. Let's play the game.
All right, let's play.
All right. 1 minute on the clock starts when I ask you question number 1. Name a respected magazine that has a lot of pictures in it.
Oh, wow, that has a lot of pictures in it. That's funny. I think this is an old question. I'm going to say Life.
Life. Good answer.
Used to be all pictures.
Name a romantic place people go on their honeymoon.
Italy.
Italy.
That's where we went. That's probably
Nice.
that answer. But
Italy's a great spot.
Name an
for
activity you'd put off doing if you had a backache.
ooh, moving furniture.
Moving furniture. Good answer.
Be painful.
Name a specific request that people make when choosing an airline seat.
Aisle.
Aisle.
It's got to be one of the top two.
Yes.
There's only 3
50-50
answers to
shot
that one.
there.
So,
Yeah.
name a state that starts with the letter A.
A state that starts with the letter A. We're gonna go Alabama.
Alabama. All right.
Alabama.
Both good answers.
Here we go.
All right. This might be a close one. What do we think?
It's possible. Name a respected magazine that has a lot of pictures in it. JD said Us. 0 for Us.
See if my bet pays off here.
Craig said Life. 17 points.
I think it was National Geographic. Am I right?
Was that number one?
That was number 4. Number 1 was People.
People.
Followed by
People.
Time, followed by Life. Followed
Interesting.
by
See, I
National
was going to say
Geographic.
Time, but I thought Life had more
I
pictures.
thought it was another magazine that starts with a P, except I don't know if that would be considered
Hello.
a
Well, I mean, it's got
respected
pictures.
I
magazine.
think that's why
Yes.
they put respected on the
Oh,
thing.
what's
Got a lot
the
of
matter?
pictures.
What's the matter with? I got respect
All right.
Okay.
Let's
the young
continue.
models
Name a romantic
whoa,
place
whoa,
people go on their
whoa.
and for
honeymoon.
the writers too. Sorry, go ahead.
Read the articles like the Major League 2
Right.
movie. Read it for the articles. Name a romantic place people go on their honeymoon. JD said Hawaii. 25 points. Number 2.
Great
right.
answer.
Great answer. Great answer. Craig said Italy. 0.
Ouch.
0.
Niagara Falls was number 1. Hawaii was 2. Bahamas was 3. Caribbean was 4. Poconos was 5.
Niagara Falls.
Paris was 6.
What a
KJD's
cliche.
up 25-17 right now.
Fair enough.
Name an activity you'd put off doing if you had a backache. JD said yard work. 8 points for yard work.
Okay.
Craig said moving furniture. 9 points.
Hey,
Okay.
all right.
Close still?
Best
the
of them
lead
in
to
that
7.
one. Number 1 was exercise, running, vacuuming, moving furniture, yard work, and housework. Name a specific request that people make when choosing an airline seat. There's only 3 answers for this. The number 1 answer was window seat, 37 points. Number 2 answer was aisle, 34 points.
Okay, all right.
The number 3 answer was first class.
So, in other words, it's a 10-point game going to the last question. This is right within range.
Name a state that starts with the letter A.
It's just going to come down to this.
JD said Alaska.
Okay.
20 points.
Okay. So now he's up 30. I need
Craig
30 or
said Alabama. Number 1 answer. 53 points. Wow. The Alabama at the end is what did JD in.
113 to 90.
more. Roll Tide, Victor.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, buddy. You're going to Tom Segura.
Let's go.
Let's go, Victor.
Way to go, Victor. Great job doing nothing. Well
JD,
done.
call back.
JD,
Try
well done,
again.
man. I think you played a great game. I mean, I was going to say Alaska, and then I just thought you probably said it. I'll go Alabama. So
That's fair.
that's the way it goes, man. Call back for another game. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
JD, gone. Victor, stay right there. Stay on hold. Braden will get your information during the break.
Got it. He's good to go. Actually,
he's
no.
good?
I need his birthday. He's got to stay on hold.
Okay, stay on hold, Victor. Any other categories we need to go through?
I think I went through all the deal.
Bama, yes. I mean, if I had said Alaska, I would have heard the buzzer anyway, so.
And then you would have went with something else.
And then I would've went
my
Alabama.
first
Yes,
answer
you
would be
would have to pick another.
Alabama. Isn't that the first? Isn't that the first state listed in alphabetical order?
A-L-A-B-A-L-A-S. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why Alabama's probably
Alabama,
first.
Arizona, like
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Thank goodness I didn't say
I don't
Arizona.
really think about Arkansas a lot.
I don't know why you would ever want to think about the state of Arkansas.
Don't bother. Yeah. I mean, I'm just glad I didn't say Arizona. I'm just happy.
I
Well,
think that would have been funnier.
I think you probably had to stop yourself from saying it.
Right. It was like, no. No, I went Roll Tide. right there. When Roll Tide. Good stuff.
I like the gold voles on the thing. Nice.
That was funny. Okay. Yeah, I guess I could have said Alberta. Yeah, that would have been a bad choice, Brandon.
Come on, Brandon.
It's a province. It's not even a state.
It's not even a state, buddy.
Well, here's what we've got coming up for the remainder
we
of the
actually
show.
finished on time a game.
I
How
know.
about that?
How about it? I'm actually pretty excited about
Clock Integrity Mondays.
Clock Integrity Monday's been rocking.
Great start.
3
Way
hours
better than
locked in.
Clock Integrity Fridays. Tell you that.
Clock Integrity Monday is locked in for the first 3 hours. Let's see if we've got one more hour to go, and then I get a little yellow star from Madam Clue.
Well, our sports fix is long, but that was expected.
Right, it's always a
Weekend
little bit long
recap,
on
yeah.
Monday, yeah. A little bit long, but we still were out before 20. Let's take a break. When we come back, hour number 4 of the show, we're going to start things off with Braden's football segment. So time for weekend overreactions.
Overreactions.
From Week 9 in the National Football League. We'll hit reset on some of the baseball free agency news,
Whoa.
including
hot.
one story we haven't really gotten into yet, the Milwaukee Brewers once again deliberately pissing off one of their top players.
That's why you can't get rid of a draft.
It's a yearly tradition in Milwaukee. Who's one of our best players not named Yelich? Let's piss you off. They did it again. We'll get into it as we continue, and we'll wrap up the show with Ask Us Anything. Stay right there, friends. It's Andy and Elsten on The Fan. Final hour of the program. Hope we're helping get your work week off to a good start. It's your midday hang, Annie and Elsten, together with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3. The Fan, her name is Annie. My name is Craig.
Not
Over
there
there
yet,
is
Craig.
Braden. But who are they really?
You'll find out at 150,
Right,
145.
Hopefully, yeah. If Clock Integrity Monday continues a little bit earlier than that, you'll find it out. Nonetheless,
135.
we're all together in our Odyssey studios overlooking Murphy Canyon. Here till 2, Gwen and Chris check in for a 2.5-hour show with Matt Scraby alongside. And then it is Westwood 1 and the coverage of Monday Night Football.
Westwood 1.
That guy with the lowest voice in the world.
Yes.
Westwood 1.
I love when you do those games, like they run them. We don't have anybody run them anymore. It's all automated. But when we used to have to run those games, you know,
someone
they'd
would have to be here in
you'd have to
person.
be here, and you'd get the tones through the board, and it'd be like Westwood 1, Sports 1, and then it'd be like
By Granger.
15 minutes until program starts. Stations.
I can't even
Be sure to
pretend
fire
be
your
that
thing at
low.
the tone, whatever. It was just this automated thing every time. It was this big build up, 90 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 minute stations to air.
Big voice guys, man. Jealous, but
Now it's automated. I don't have to worry about it.
that's a good point.
Otherwise, Scrapey would have to be sitting here for the games.
You know, I was thinking about you and your dad, Braden, yesterday afternoon.
Nice.
That might sound a little...
Hopefully, good things.
Yeah. Well, here's why. So, Sunday afternoon, asked to go to the grocery store. You know, it's really not an ideal time to go to Trader Joe's, but...
Really not.
Sunday's not a great time to get all your shopping done, but that's
No.
when everybody does
And
it.
especially Trader Joe's.
Yeah, nonetheless,
or
nonetheless,
Costco.
it really wasn't
You
that
braved it.
bad. It
Okay,
wasn't
all
that
right.
bad.
Same as Costco.
There were spots in the lot. You know what I'm saying?
Good, nice, okay.
So little Sunday afternoon traipse to go get the milk and the juice and the yogurts for the kid and get a new bottle of wine from me and whatnot. And so I pull into our La Mesa Trader Joe's lot. There's a little strip mall there. What's in the strip mall, Braden? What pops up everywhere in the month of October?
Spirit stores?
Spirit
That's right.
Halloween.
That's right.
Spirit Halloween. So sure enough, just like every other abandoned store in San Diego becomes a Spirit Halloween for a month, there was a store in the strip mall that was a Spirit Halloween.
Yeah.
And I saw it. I was like, huh. Oh, and first just like, huh, that's funny. Another one.
Another one.
And then I see the sign on the store. Last day of business. Last day of business, November 3rd.
I hope you went in.
50% off
Wow.
entire store. I went in.
And what was left for you there?
Plenty.
Really? Okay.
Really?
A whole store full of stuff.
Because when it's done, they probably just put it in storage and then just resell it again next year.
I'm sure that's exactly what they do. I'm sure all that stuff gets peeled off the walls, put into some giant storage facility somewhere in Southern California, just like it's done everywhere else. And then it's all pulled out October 1st or September 15th or whenever they open up all the spirit stores.
And what did you buy?
I bought an 8-foot inflatable ghost for next year.
Right.
Was it
For
doing anything with
50%
another
off.
ghost like
Nice.
the
No Kama Sutra ghosts. No, just a regular.
like Annie's neighborhood that she sees?
Yeah, just
That
a
never
regular
went
spooky
down. That
ghost.
stayed, well, gosh,
Well, I
it
mean,
never, okay.
Never went down. What?
No, it stayed up the whole time.
no,
Oh,
it was
wow.
more of a seated position.
Pause.
Anyways, got the just a standing up scary ghost,
Nice.
but
Yeah.
8-foot tall ghost that'll go next to the grinning jack-o'-lantern now.
I like it.
And I got next year's costume for the show.
What's next year's costume?
It's Shaggy.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
We talked about it.
Okay.
We talked about it, and then I saw it right
Your
there.
kismet for you.
Did you keep the wig from the last one?
No, well, it's got a better wig. It's got a more
It's
shaggy.
got 2 weeks now.
It's got a more shagalicious wig.
I was gonna say because that's definitely good. I was like, you could have made your own, like just by buying
I know.
maroon jeans and a green T-shirt.
But, I mean, honestly, it would have cost more to buy those independently than the 50% off. I mean, I walked out with both of those things for well under $50
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
for both of those
a trip
things.
to Spirit stores lot cheaper than a trip to Lululemon. Tell you that.
Yeah. Well, that's why I thought of your dad. I figured that's probably how he builds the haunted houses, goes to a Spirit Halloween the day after Halloween.
No,
and
that's not how
get
we
all
do
the
it.
stuff.
But that is a smart way to do it.
Yeah.
It's usually like, are we gonna do this haunted house again? Yes, and then it's like, okay, and well now we gotta go. Let's go frantically get all the stuff at full price. But yes, that is definitely that is when you should be doing your holiday decoration shopping is right after Halloween and right after Christmas ends. Means everything's like 50% off.
Earlier, I saw John from KSON, and I told him this story before the show, and he told me that he once petitioned his ex-wife to have Christmas gift giving be on New Year's Eve. You could still do all the religious celebration or the Christmas style celebration on the 25th, and then buy all the gifts starting on the 26th when everything's half off, and then have the gift giving on the 31st. You'd still have all the gifts, you'd still have all the celebration, and you'd save hundreds of dollars a year.
I think that's a great idea.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
He said that's why they got divorced. I thought it was a great idea. Like,
you get more gifts, you have more money that it stretches farther.
Stretches way farther. I mean, you can give the same number of gifts and just,
save some money also. Yeah.
Pocket a couple, $300-400 extra dollars along the way. I mean, hey, I think it's a great idea. And Tyler is right in the chat. So now you guys have to work on your Daphne and Fred outfits, and then I'll dress up Sammy the dog as Scooby, and then we can have
Poor Velma, not part of the conversation.
I mean, I don't see Annie as a Velma.
No.
I went into the spirit store. I did the exact same thing last year. Same store, same Trader Joe's complex, but they didn't have as much. And I went the day after Halloween. Now, I might have just hit it at a tough time. And I did get a few decorations that I ended up actually not putting up this year, but I have them in some storage bin somewhere. And I got like lots of tights. Like a lot of all their accessories were, so I got like tights and like random things for whatever, like things that I could actually utilize throughout the year. But yeah, that's the best way to do it, for real. Go in there and clean shop.
Now I'm seriously motivated to do this for Christmas, because we've already talked about the escalation within the neighborhoods, and my neighborhood included, of everyone putting up more. That's
how you got to do it. You got to go in there the day after.
Yeah.
And same with holiday decorations. Go in and pick up all those at 50% off and store them away for next year.
So that's what I think I'm going to do is this year. So 2 years ago, we started to upgrade. We used to have the lamest Christmas with decorations with just the one line of lights on the top of the house, just one little lousy line of lights.
Super lame.
And then 2 years ago, I added lights to the fence so that we had a much more brighter light. And
less lame.
Last year, we added the inflatable pug with the Santa hat and the blinky light that lights up the whole house and makes it all twinkly and Christmassy.
That's cool.
So that's what we'll stay on that level this year. We'll stay there. But then December 26th or 27th, I'm going myself into a Spirit Christmas store.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna upgrade the house for like $60. I mean, because normally it's been like going to Lowe's or Home Depot or something. You spend a decent amount of money.
I bet you it's
on
half
that
off
stuff.
on Amazon too.
Yeah.
And the day after.
Probably. Well, I'm just saying, I'm going to be smart about it now. I think I'm finally of that age that now I'm, look at the bargain I got here, half off.
I mean, the best time to buy a winter coat or something is,
middle of summer.
Right. It's, or spring or something. It's, you got to think along those lines.
I've never been that person. I've never been a coupon cutter. I've never been a real hoarder. I've never been a bargain seeker. But it was a very cool feeling being in there and be like, I can just knock this out now. Like October, done. Next year's Halloween show, already done.
Is there a lot of people in there?
There was like 6 people.
Oh, that's not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't
chaotic.
No, it wasn't chaotic at all. I mean, I
More
thought it would
chaotic
be
than a Trader Joe's.
I thought theoretically it could be completely empty. It was like the second to last hour of the store's existence. I thought it might be just me and two salespeople begging me to leave so they could start the tear down. No, there was there's a couple families in there. Yeah. So, anyways, I thought of The Sopranos. I was in there thinking about The Sopranos, going
see what Christmas has in store. The longer we play with Cathedral is usually the less decorations we have, because the season goes so long, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, Christmas is like next week, which has happened before. So hopefully we're not as decorated on the house this year. It means we had a good run in the postseason.
Yeah.
This delightful bit of banter has taken us to 10, and it's a Clock Integrity Monday. So what we're going to do right now is hit a small free agency news.
John Hammond's news?
And then we're going to... Oh, what was John... I saw this, but what was it again?
Eyewash. Gerrit Cole and the Yankees are making positive steps towards a return to pinstripes.
Well, okay then.
Which means we're not accepting that deal. We could renegotiate your contract if you want.
They're making positive steps.
I mean, to me, it's very simple. It's like, are you having them back or not? Which means they're not accepting.
They have to do it in the next 50 minutes.
That tells me they're not accepting the option.
Which, I mean, is totally possible.
And then they're trying to renegotiate a contract.
I
How does that work out
they
for
might
people?
accept the option.
Then, well, the phrase was they're working together they're making progress. How are you making progress?
Yeah, if it's just the Yankees voiding the opt-out. Right.
So they're probably going to void the deal and then give them
come to a new deal.
A new deal.
5-year, $160 million or whatever.
Adam says 5-year, 180 maybe.
Well, that's what the deal is if they pick it up.
Right.
It's literally 5-180. If they pick up the opt-out, it becomes 5-180.
To give him an extra year. I mean, how much does he want that extra? Do you want more money or more years? I mean, to me, I feel like I'd want more money.
This is the Heyman I had seen from this morning, Annie, that I just saw over your shoulder once on MLB Network. The Braves exercised their $16 million option on Marcell Ozuna. Mm-hmm. The Orioles exercised their $7.5 million option on Ryan O'Hearn, which is one of the players that when we went through free agent outfielders was listed as a top 3 free agent outfielder. So that's even less competition for Jurickson Profar out on the market. Also, today is qualifying offer day. And the Mets gave a QO to Sean Manaea.
And Luis Severino.
So that's pretty interesting.
Ooh, so the Mets are bringing back Sean Manaea for how much?
No, they're not bringing him
not.
back.
They're
They're
offering
not.
him a qualifying offer.
They're giving him a QO. So
Which is how much money is that this year?
$21 million. So it would be an $8 million raise for Sean Manaea if he actually
So he can
took
either
it.
accept it or not. Right.
Right.
But if he doesn't accept it, if you want to sign him, you have to give up a draft pick
Correct.
to sign him.
A first-round
or
pick.
forfeit.
Or your highest pick.
I think you forfeit international signing money, too.
It depends on whether I think you're over the number or not. But I could be a little bit off on that. Any capologists out there can feel free to correct me. Nonetheless, I do find that one interesting because I do not believe Sean Manaea will get a $21 million average annual value contract for a multi-year deal. It's not impossible. And he did pitch well. I was thinking the Giants were going to give him a 3 or 4 year contract. However, $21 million, Manaea could say, bet on myself one more time.
Yeah.
He's literally been a free agent 3 straight seasons. He could do it again, try and back up the second half he had this year with one more year in New York, get the 21M, and then go back out on the market even more proven next year. So that one and Severino, I think, are both. Last year, not a single player accepted a qualifying offer. This year, I could kind of see it. I think it's on the margin, at least for Manaea.
Yeah, there were some predictions on Friday that this would be a second consecutive year without any qualifying offers being accepted. But I could see it's a possibility. If I'm Sean Manaea, I would have to weigh out, the possibility of being able to go out there and get a good 3-4 year deal that is worth considerable amount of money, which I think he could honestly get this year. I do feel like that after coming off of that year with the Mets.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one. And then the other one I wanted to bring up before we went to break was that the Brewers had signed their closer, the airbender, Devin Williams, to a deal that would carve out some of his arbitration. And one of them was a club option for this year.
It's just a weird thing.
Yeah, for like $10.5 million.
Yes.
And the Brewers decided to decline the option to take him to arbitration to save a couple $1 million, in theory, at arbitration court. So here's Williams, who replaced Josh Hader and has been statistically one of the 3 best pitchers in baseball, just pitchers, period. Him, Clase, I think one other guy, in terms of absolute dominance. And they're saying to him, hey, you're still going to be on the team. We came to this deal. You pitched really well, but we're not going to give you that money. We're going to give you less. And we're going to go to arbitration with you so our lawyers can actually argue about all the things you did wrong this year.
Yeah, this is a process where the Brewers, like you said, do it almost every year. Corbin Burns, another example that really soured the two parties between each other. Josh Hader had the same thing. The Brewers are kind of notorious for it. It's the opposite of what the Padres do, where the Padres say, hey, we don't even want to get to that point. We want to find a reasonable amount of money that avoids arbitration, because arbitration, the whole goal of it is for the team to point out every flaw with you, everything that is why you shouldn't get another $500,000 or whatever it is, and then come back the next year and be like, and let's play ball. It's hard sometimes for the player to separate that, understandably, for the player to separate those feelings between what the team really thinks about you and how they view you versus like you're going out there and you're trying to give your all for the team.
So what this leaves is Devin Williams to know that they don't have his back. You know, the current projection for him in arbitration is $7.7 million. So the Brewers are saying, you know, for $3 million, we just want to dick over your last year here in Milwaukee, kick you basically out the door, let you know that there's no way you're going to want to stay here. And this is, as you said, on the heel of Corbin Burns, on the heel of Josh Hader. This is 3 really good pitchers in a row that the Brewers have gone out and created a reputation for themselves now. They have the reputation as being a penny pinching, organization over player, dollar over security type team that no one's going to ever want to sign a free agent deal to go play for, except for the guys who can't find the big money somewhere else. Those are the only kind of players that are going to come to Milwaukee. Rhys Hoskins on a pillow deal, Gary Sanchez on a pillow deal, deals like that. The 35th best starter in the league. Those are the only players that are ever going to go play for Milwaukee. If you're a great player in Milwaukee, you can be guaranteed to know that they're going to do everything they can to suppress your salary to the moment they kick you out the door.
It's the way the Brewers run it. I've heard players talk about it, trying to be fair to the Brewers in the sense of it absolutely sucks and no one likes it and it very much sours the relationships. But, when they're trying to kind of be fair to the team, they'll say, like, the Brewers have been in the postseason, six out of the last 7 years. They typically are a team that continues to return to the playoffs. They build from within. They do a good job of developing and bringing into their farm system and bring them up to the major league level. So sometimes it's like that's kind of the defense of it, is like this is how they have to run their club in Milwaukee. It just doesn't. For a few $100,000 here and there and whatnot, you'd wish there was a better way that they could figure something out here, because it doesn't leave a good taste, in any of those players' mouths. And
I'm just telling you, if A.J. Preller had negotiated this deal, Devin Williams would be playing for $10 million next year, because that's the deal. He would have set it up so if you have a bad year, you get to have $10 million. If you have a good year, you get to opt out. That's just the way that this organization does business. Have gone to arbitration 0 times in the A.J. Preller era. 0 times. Brewers do it every year to their best available arbitration player. Every year they put him through the ringer to try and squeeze an extra $600,000 or an extra $1.2 million or whatever it is, and that is penny wise, pound foolish. That's the Milwaukee Brewers. When we come back, Braden's football segment, NFL overreactions from the weekend that was. It's all coming your way after a quick timeout. Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings is football. Hey, San Diego sports fans, head to your local Buffalo Wild Wings and try their new maple chipotle sauce for rich maple sweetness and a mild chipotle heat. Or for a bit of a kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend. A blend. 3, 2, 1. Or for a bit of a kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings. Go! Go! Okay. We've reached that time on a Monday where Braden will read us over reactions and we'll decide whether or not to buy or sell in this, what we call Braden's football segment.
God, I love the music. It's great. Get you hyped.
Yep. Makes me want to reverse.
You want to hurdle somebody?
Hurdle.
Reverse hurdle.
Reverse hurdle. We got 6 overreactions to talk about today. I'll start with the Giants and the Raiders. And Dan Graziano, who puts together the overreactions that we react to, is including both teams here because it makes sense for both of them and similar reasons. Raiders really don't have a quarterback at the moment. Both Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell have already been benched this season. O'Connell is on the injured reserve, and Desmond Ridder finished Sunday's loss to the Bengals. Whatever happens the rest of the way for the Raiders, they need to find a quarterback in the offseason. Giants, of course, still have Daniel Jones starting at quarterback, but his guaranteed money runs out after this season, and the Giants didn't look like they trusted him to throw a pass Sunday until he got to the second half and had no other choice. He had 0 passing yards in the first half, despite throwing a touchdown pass. Think about that for a second.
Oh, wait. So
How?
all the rest of his passes went backwards?
He had his sacks take away passing yards.
Oh, do they really?
In the NFL, it does. In college, it takes away rushing yards. In the NFL, it takes away passing yards. 0 passing yards in the first half, despite throwing a touchdown pass. Think about that. The 121 of his 174 on the day came in the fourth quarter of the loss to Washington. Giants have said they'd give Jones a year to show whether he could still be their franchise quarterback. But given that they're 2-7, he's not lining up the scoreboard, it's likely they're also looking for a new signal caller this offseason. So both teams are looking for signal callers, buy or sell. As the deadline approaches, the Giants or Raiders should trade for Bryce Young.
Sell.
I sell it too. Just pick them up in the offseason. Do something in the offseason.
Yeah, makes no sense.
I
right now.
sell because I don't necessarily think Bryce Young makes those teams better.
That's what I
They're
agree. He
also
hasn't shown-
bad, right? They're also bad, and you're taking a quarterback on a bad team that needs a new change of scenery, and you're putting him on 2 other bad teams.
In the middle of the year,
Right.
when he
And
wouldn't know
trading
your
for him.
system,
Doesn't really make sense.
I know
he'd be worse for the new team than he would be for the Panthers.
they're better off trying to draft a quarterback.
Yes.
Shedeur Sanders in New York.
Whee!
Sure, that'd be great.
Is Dion going to quit at Colorado the minute his kids are off campus?
Maybe he waits a year,
1 year.
but yes. They had a thing this morning. It was like the top NIL earners in college football. Shedeur's the most. You
How
know
much?
$4.5 million this year. Play quarterback in Colorado. Insane.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it must be nice to be a college kid nowadays.
Yes.
Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati is not a team that makes trades. This hyper-conservative draft picks and generally loathes paying premium prices for players who aren't its own. But people around the league believe Cincinnati is at least looking into the idea of acquiring a defensive player, possibly a running back, ahead of Tuesday's deadline. It would be out of character, but the chatter is out there, and it's real. Bengals have seen the contending Chiefs, Ravens, and Bills, plus the Jets, whose record is worse than theirs, acquire big-name veteran receivers, and they still believe they are in their Super Bowl window with Joe Burrow. Buy or sell, the Bengals will be adding at the deadline for a change.
I could buy it. I think they need someone that's going to be an impact player that's going to bring them back to like having fun again too. They don't always look like they're having that much fun. Like they were
It's not the same as when they were playing a last place schedule with Joe Burrow making the Super Bowl.
right. It was like
Not
a
the
team
same.
that used to like have some spark, you know?
I sell it on the sense that like actions speak louder than words. I mean, they could talk about trading for a guy as much as they want, but that organization is cheap. They're super cheap.
I'd like to see the Lions trade for a defensive player before the deadline to add a little pass rush, waiting for Hutchinson to get back.
I would as well. How about the Chargers bringing back a familiar face?
Okay.
In their first offseason with Jim Harbaugh as coach and Joe Hortz as GM, Chargers were giving off rebuilding vibes, stuck with tough cap issues. They traded away franchise mainstay Keenan Allen and released Mike Williams, turning over their wide receiver room in the middle of quarterback Justin Herbert's prime. But what looks like a rebuild to most of us in March isn't always that. Harbaugh is not a coach who loses a lot. And it's possible we underestimated these Chargers. No, we didn't. Who played good defense, run the ball, and just improved to 5-3 with a dominant victory over the Browns. The Browns, as Jameis Winston threw his 100th interception of his career on Sunday. Surprise AFC contenders, Chargers might be poised to add come Tuesday, and Tuesday is the deadline, and Williams is the guy, Mike Williams, the Jets have seemed willing to trade away in recent weeks following the pickup of Devontae Adams. Buy or sell, Chargers should bring back Mike Williams.
I think they're going to.
I think they should.
I mean, him and Aaron Rodgers aren't clicking. Mike Williams getting pushed out. Then he got pushed back in because of the injury, to the other receiver. But Mike Williams is going to do better back with San Diego.
Dan Graziano says overreaction.
Or LA.
He says, do the Chargers actually need him? Quentin
Don't
Johnston.
they need him?
Quentin Johnston's been doing well. Lad McConkey, Josh Palmer. They have
played
DJ
the
Chark and
Saints
Jalen
and
Reagor.
the Browns
Listen,
last
I
week,
agree.
didn't
the
they?
Charge, and they're going to win again this week because I forget who it is,
Fine,
but
they
they
don't
play
need
another
him
cupcake.
because
Yeah, they play another
let
cupcake
them,
this week.
let them be them.
Let them be them. Exactly.
Yeah, as long as they don't make the AFC Championship game, I don't care what they
Which I don't
do,
think they
but
will.
I do think that
They got the
should
Titans.
pick this guy.
They got the Titans.
That's what I mean. They're going to win again. They're going to be 6-3, and then everyone can write about what a brilliant head coach, Mr. Never Lie, Never Cheat, Never Steal, is the
Let me
ultimate
ask you this.
hypocrite,
Let me
Jim
ask you
Harbaugh.
this as we go a little bit. Can you name me the 5 Chargers wins this year?
Well, let's see. They beat the Browns. Did
the
they
Browns.
beat the Patriots?
Beat the
Saints.
Saints? No, they didn't play the Patriots.
Okay.
But-
The Jaguars. They beat
didn't
the
beat the
Jaguars.
No,
Cardinals.
they beat a different cat.
Oh.
The
Carolina.
They beat Carolina,
They beat Carolina. That's
and they beat
that's
two.
The game I
They
was
beat
thinking
two
about.
teams in the division:
The
Raiders
Broncos,
and the
Raiders.
Raiders.
Raiders. Yeah.
Raiders and Broncos.
So
Those are the
Cool.
5 wins for the Chargers. Upcoming, they got the Titans. Then they got the Bengals and Ravens. Falcons on the road at Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Denver, New England, Vegas.
look at a little.
there's a little
listen,
bit of a
the
route
Chargers
there
are going to
for
make the
them.
playoffs. The
Oh,
Chargers
yeah.
are going to make the playoffs. Whatever.
AFC is a lot better than the NFC. Speaking of the lousy NFC, let's talk about the lousy Dallas Cowboys. Things get worse in Dallas every week. The offense looked listless again in the 27-21 loss to the Falcons. The score kind of got changed at the end. I mean, the Falcons really handled them. Fell to 3-5 for the season, and it's the first time in 5 years they've lost 3 straight Dak Prescott starts. Prescott hurt his hamstring, couldn't even finish the game. He's going to be out for the next couple of games. Their next 3 games without Dak Prescott will be Philly, Houston, and Washington, all of whom have winning records, and it's possible the Dak Prescott injury could mean the Cowboys have to play some or all of those games with Cooper Rush. He actually does do a pretty good job. Cowboys fans always want the team to be adding more than it does, but if they're being honest with themselves about the season, it might make more sense to trade away some guys and see about loading up on draft picks to avoid ending up with a thin roster again anytime soon. Buy or sell, Cowboys will actually be trading away players at the deadline. I think they should.
I don't think they will.
I don't think they will, but I think they should.
I think they should. Whatever they're doing, the formula that they've had. Here's what
Jerry
I think. I
Jones
don't think
run
it
the team.
matters. Yeah, the formula they've had is not working. So, to me, you've got to start with the ownership, which is probably not going to change. You've got to look at the head coach. To me, the players don't even matter anymore. It is what is going on in their organization that is not working. It's not working.
I said at the beginning of the year they needed to sign 3 players this season. It was CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, and Micah Parsons. And in the order of how I would sign them, Micah, Dak, CeeDee, they did the exact opposite. And now they're potentially would trade Micah Parsons at the deadline who comes back this week to try to load up on draft picks to try to revamp their team. But
They're going to be keep them, trade them. They're going to be bad regardless, as long as they have whatever's happening inside the organization there.
as the real reason the Cowboys won back in the 90s, aside from being more expensive than everybody else, Jimmy Johnson.
Or just Jerry Jones just hold on to people too long, too.
Well-
Hold on to coaches and players too long.
As I was saying, as Jimmy Johnson would say, it's not having the draft picks. It's what you do with the draft picks. And you could trade all those players away for draft picks, but if Jerry Jones is still making the decisions, nothing's going to change.
Done.
Last one for you. Arizona Cardinals won again on Sunday. Destroyed Chicago. with surprising tough defense and winning with its run game on offense. It was the Cardinals' third win in a row, proved their record of 5-4, which is good enough for solo first place in the NFC West. Cardinals are in first. Rams and Niners are each 4-4 and a half game back because Arizona hadn't had its bye yet. Cardinals are an odd team. They're in first place despite a negative point differential, having allowed 7 more points this season than they've scored. They lost big to the Commanders and Packers, and before blowing out the Bears, they won 2 games in a row on last-second field goals. But playing better defense in the past 2 weeks than their personnel would seem to indicate they could, and they've already secured head-to-head division victories over both the Rams and the Niners. Only one of the games remaining on their schedule is against a team that currently has a winning record, at Minnesota on December 1st. NFC West is quite clearly up for grabs, especially if the Niners continue to struggle with injuries, and the Cardinals are in position to steal it. Cardinals missing both their corners on Sunday with injuries. They ended up beating the Bears. Buy or sell, should the Cardinals make a big trade for a cornerback and just go all in? They're in first place right now. They got a lousy schedule coming up. It's kind of one of those questions. You're playing good in the first half of the season for Major League Baseball. Are you going to go all in and see if you can go for the playoffs, or are you just like, hey, we're still part of our rebuild?
Okay, so here's why I'm going to say no to this, because let's just, as you played that out and explained it very well, I thought to myself, okay, because originally, before you got to their schedule, I was going to say Niners are still going to win the division with like 10 wins, of a very balanced division where teams will be 8-9, 9-8, and 10-7. However, with that schedule, pretty decent chance Arizona gets to 11 wins as is. So even if they get to 11 wins, even if they get to 12 wins, they're still not good enough to get out of the NFC and get to the Super Bowl. So why go all in? It's kind of a phantom record this year.
Any chance to make the playoffs is a good chance.
But they'll make the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs.
Here's the remaining schedule. They got the Jets at home. Even though it's a losing record, that's for the Cardinals. It's a pretty tough opponent. Then they go to Seattle, at Minnesota, home against Seattle, and then they got New England, at Carolina, at the Rams, and they host the Niners.
I don't think you.
Even though they have losing records on there, there's only one team on there with a winning record.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rams are 500 and the Niners are 500. At the end of the season, are they going to be 500?
Right,
I don't
right.
think
Yeah,
so.
no.
Yeah.
Leave it be. Let Arizona
I wouldn't make
finish
a move.
9-8 or whatever.
The thing with the trade deadline in the NFL, it's not like any other sport. You got to
Yeah.
get guys up to speed on scheme and personnel and stuff, and it's just a different deal. And there's not a lot of movement with cap and everything like that.
Exactly.
And there's no you get draft picks traded. There's no
Immediate,
minor leagues where you
right.
get future prospects.
Right.
Yeah.
And most of the future prospects on other teams, those teams want to keep because they're cheap and they're future players.
It's the most I've thought about the Cardinals all week, but in the end, I'm going to just say
29-9 over the Bears.
Yeah, not Caleb's best day, not the Bears' best day.
Gosh darn it.
That's why we picked the Lions.
That's why we picked the Lions. That's exactly right.
Who have just absolutely annihilated everybody they've played.
I mean, are the Lions boring good?
No.
No.
Okay.
No, they're just good.
Okay.
I would not consider the Bears entertainingly bad.
Good call. Good touche. But
Where's
no,
my guy?
I've enjoyed that we're with the Lions. The Lions are good. I like their head coach too. So.
How about the Ravens putting 41 on Abraham Ochoa's Denver Broncos defense that is so great? Oof. 41.
How about
40 piece?
Antonio Pierce is in jeopardy too, isn't he? There's a few head coaches right now. That
Yeah.
I don't know why
mean,
they kept him in the first place.
It didn't work out.
It wasn't going to work.
It's not going to work out.
It wasn't going to work.
He was pretty good for Long Beach Poly, but
it's a little different.
that's about where it stopped. It's about where the water's edge was.
Adam's
as it
fired up
turned
that the Broncos got smoked. They're running up the score on the Panthers.
Whatever. All right, let's take our last time out.
Hey, Bo Nix might be the best receiver on that team.
I saw that catch. That was a good catch, actually. That was a good catch.
Bo, when he realizes his best weapon is himself.
Boxed the guy out, hard power turn to get in and break the plane.
You know what? Maybe Cortland Sutton should be the
hey.
quarterback.
Do you want an update on
Yes.
Gerrit Cole?
Do I?
Is he signing?
Well, this is the only tweet from John Heyman 24 seconds ago. Gerrit Cole and Yankees have agreed to stay together. I don't know exactly what that means, but they've not split.
Well, that's great.
They have not divorced. They are still consummating
What
their
if they
relationship.
gave him 2 more years, 15 each?
Pitch him through age 41.
Yeah, but it's 15 and 15 instead of 36. Do you think Cole would accept that? I mean, he just wants the extra 30-something million dollars.
Maybe we'll get some clarity in
Maybe.
the next 4.5
Yes.
minutes. But either way, we're going to take this short break, and then when we come back, it's going to be time to ask us anything. So you've got a solid 11 minutes to call the show. 833-288-0973 is our number. Call us between here and 1:50 p.m., and we are going to get you on the air before we wrap up. All we ask is that you come preloaded with a question for the program. Doesn't have to be about sports. It can be about anything. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We come back with Ask Us Anything next on The Fan. Welcome back, everybody. Appreciate you being here on a Monday. We will be back tomorrow with another full 4-hour show. We'll see if free agency gets going. Haven't seen any further details on Gerrit Cole. Hang on. Here we go.
Okay.
John Heyman says Cole will continue on with his existing agreement with the thought extension discussion will occur later. Both sides wanted to stay together, so they did. So does that mean he didn't opt out? Does that mean he reverses his opt-out and stays on his deal? Once you opt out, aren't you out?
So 34, 38. So they would look to maybe bring him to his age 40, 41, 42 year versus his 39 year. He's 34. He's got 4 more years, right? He would have gotten the 5th year if they had just voided his opt-out with that extra year, extra $36 million. So now are they thinking of just going like 2 to 3 years more than what they...
Who knows?
guess,
Who
like-
knows? Or maybe they're not going to do anything. It sounds just weird to me, the whole we've agreed to stay together, we're going to keep on his current deal and talk about an extension. I mean, on the face, guys, we set this up as a giant high-stakes poker play.
So
I think the Yankees folded.
he reversed his opt-out, though. Essentially, he's saying, he's not even taking the extra year, $36 million. Like, he's just on his original deal.
He's just sticking on his
Yeah.
old deal and saying, I'm
then-
not opting out.
And then they'll
It's the
discuss
same as if Cole did not
extensions.
opt out.
Yeah, it's the same as it was on Thursday of last week.
Maybe they both folded.
Maybe they did. Maybe they both realized
They both
the
folded.
grass might not be greener.
Yeah.
And Gerrit Cole listened to our segment. He's like, you know what?
Right.
Those guys are right. I don't know if I got, it's all right. Let's
like-
try to work something out here.
Right. Because the Yankees didn't agree to just
right.
void the opt-out and give him the extra year and the extra
No.
36. So maybe Gerrit Cole was like,
Hey.
no let's
hard
discuss
feelings.
it at a later
right?
time.
I love it here.
Yeah, we're good.
What's an extra $36 million?
Okay, here's Jeff Passan. Right-hander Gerrit Cole is remaining with the Yankees on the 4-year, $144 million deal that he had opted out of, sources
Yes.
told ESPN. Discussions on a potential contract extension will continue. Essentially, it's the same as if Cole did not opt out, says
Yeah,
Jeff
so I'm
Passan. So, okay.
He chickened.
Yeah, he did.
I can't
He
blame
chickened.
him. He should have never opted out in the first place, I don't think.
No.
He put in his bet. The Yankees raised him. They said, "Oh,
All right.
oh yeah, you
Well-
want that opt out? Well, you know what? Guess what? See you later, pal. We're not going
He
to pay
said,
you
know what?
180.
You know what? Ah.
Better start learning how to
Hey.
speak Mr. Met and Grimace, buddy.
Yeah, 4.44 cents. Good to me.
Have
actually.
fun
It
hanging
sounds
out
really
with-
good.
That was a
hanging out
lot
with
for
Grimace.
nothing. There's a lot of discussion and whatever for...
Oh, so you promise we'll talk later? Okay. They're not going to talk later. What are you talking about?
He was getting way too many phone calls from caller IDs. It's in Flushing Meadows, and he was like,
or
you know
people that are like, what are you doing?
I don't know about this.
That's wild. All right, Garrett.
Can we chalk that up as an L for Boris?
Yes.
All right.
Well,
Mini
if
L,
he
half
ends up
L?
getting, it's a mini L, because if he ends
Mini
up
L.
getting a much better contract or a more years, more money, then Boris kind of wins.
I don't
But
see
what's that going to look
happening.
like? I mean,
I don't know, because you'd be going into age, you'd have
Yeah.
to,
are they
you'd have
really
to
going
take him into his 40s.
Yeah, are they really going to bet on his age 40 year? No chance. They just gave him a hand wave right there. Hey, don't worry. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later.
I mean,
Why don't you
unless,
just opt
yeah,
back in? What do you think about that deal we already gave you?
doesn't count unless it's official. Pen to paper.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, I'm going to opt out. Hey, look at you guys. You have to add another $36 million. Oh, well, we're not going to. You know what? The old deal was fine. It was fine.
We're okay with that.
Kidding. I was kidding. Didn't you see the little /S when I said opt out?
My
Sarcasm font.
Fingers behind my back.
Yeah, you didn't read the sarcasm font? It was sarcasm. I'm not opting out. I love it here. Never would leave. No way. Give Boris the tiniest little L. All right, let's hit the bumper. Eight 833-288-0973 is our phone number if you want to call us real quick, like right now. 833-288-0973. We can jump you in. Meanwhile, here's Juan in Vista. Hi, Juan. Welcome to the program. Ask us anything.
Hello, you there? Sorry,
Hi.
I couldn't hear
Got
you.
you. Got you. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing well, man. Ask us anything.
I kind of had a silly question inspired by Braden's knowledge of Gen Alpha, I guess Gen Z slang, and it was, which NFL coaches have maximum aura and which ones have minimal aura? Or I guess you can tell them
aura,
to
even.
throw the fries in the bag.
Good question.
Put the fries in the bag.
Put the fries in the bag. I said that to my nephews over the
How'd
weekend.
that go?
Did you?
They thought it was well. First, they looked at me like I'm an idiot,
Like you're nuts.
and then they kind of got a kick out of it. Yeah.
Nate Taylor's put it in the chat at least every day since I said it. It kills me every time.
Put the fries in the bag.
Yeah, just put the fries.
Like
in
they
the
looked
bag.
at me like I have 5 heads, but then it got brought up in conversation like later by them.
I
They're
thought
like,
it to
"Hey."
myself 3 different times
the
when my
fries in the
son
bag.
started telling me about Fortnite stuff.
He
3
didn't
different
say
ti-
it.
I didn't
Yeah.
say it, but
you
I
gotta
thought
say
it 3
One
times.
time.
I'm
fries in
waiting.
the
I'm
bag.
waiting for the
Waiting for the
exact right
opportune moment.
Yeah.
Put the
I feel
fries
like,
in the bag, bro.
Like
Hilarious.
Pete Carroll would have been like an aura guy.
Pete Carroll's a definitely aura guy.
Campbell.
I don't-
Maximum more.
Yeah, I don't think that our boy with the Lions is because he's
I don't
kind of
think
a
so
more he's he's blue collar. He's
I
bring
think-
the lunchbox to work.
I think he has aura, but
He
I don't
does.
think
He
I
doesn't
don't
need
think
to talk
he.
about
I don't
it.
think he spews aura.
He doesn't need to give points for it.
That's right.
Mike McDaniel, aura.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel's definitely a big aura guy.
Yeah.
Dennis Allen, negative aura.
I think Jim Harbaugh would be a big aura guy.
I could see that.
Yeah.
It's basically what guys you think are
Yeah.
eyewash guys.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly what
Pete
it
Carroll,
is.
Harbaugh. I think Jim Harbaugh's aura guy. I don't think John
Not
Harbaugh
John Harbaugh,
is
no.
aura
No.
guy.
John is
No.
like, what the hell's an aura?
Yeah, I'm worried about winning ball games here.
Never lie, never cheat, never steal, never
about-
give out aura.
I think Mike Schiltz a big aura guy, Annie.
No.
I don't think so either.
No.
Think Mike Schultz ridden a roller coaster yet this winter?
Has he been to Disneyland?
I think
What's
he
Mike
should.
Schilt's take
think he's
on
living his best
Nightmare
life.
Before Christmas Haunted Mansion?
What does Mike Schilt do on an average off-season off day?
Go to the beach? I don't know.
I want to say not a lot.
What
Like
would you
what
do?
are his hobbies? What are Mike Schilt's hobbies?
Well, he's an older gentleman. I would imagine golf.
Maybe golf. Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh,
What
I
else
think
do
he
you
might
do?
like the ball, the pickle and the
Pickleball,
pickle.
the
The ball
ball
and
and
the
the
yeah.
pickle.
Yeah, I think he might like
The
that.
pickle and the balls.
I heard the funniest stand-up riff on like a Facebook short yesterday of this guy who walks into a mom and pop gas station and he's going to go buy a bottle of water and he walks down the aisle and there's a shelf with loose pickles
Huh?
on the shelf.
Loose.
Just
They're out there.
just pickles.
Hey, when there's just loose pickles
Just
everywhere.
Pickles bouncing all over the place.
Little juice
Gotta
on
grab
the
all
on
those
the
pickles
shelf.
and the pickle
juice.
juice.
Yeah, just
right.
interacting with the dusty shelf. It's a funny riff if
Sir,
you
you
want to
can't
go
put
see
your
it.
pickle here.
So did he have to like throw the
Apparently,
pickles back?
the,
or?
the moral of the story was that apparently there's some guy who goes into that gas station and steals the pickle jar and leaves the pickles.
He takes the pickles out,
Yeah.
takes the jar.
Takes the jar
Oh my
and
gosh.
just walks.
Clean up your pickles, everyone. Okay.
Don't put your pickles
Yeah,
there.
keep your pickles contained.
Sir, you can't put your pickle on that.
Loose pickle.
Especially not your juice.
That's right. That's gross. Pause.
Real loose pickle energy going on. When we come back, it'll be a different show. Gwen and Chris will be on next. And we'll be back tomorrow
Talking
at
about
10 a.m.
pickles.
For Annie and Braden, I'm Craig. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.